Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of What If Deku Became the World's Greatest Mime? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. I'll kill you, Deku. A green-haired boy merely held up a sign with a question mark and a sad face. A blonde-haired boy stopped his assault on a greenite, choosing to take a breath before he made his next move, already annoyed with this conversation. Deku, you have a quirk. And while not as awesome as mine, I'll admit it's got potential. Yet your dumbass is wasting it on being a goddamn mime. Bakugo yelled. The green mime switched his sign from a question mark to an angry face while dodging an explosion. Are you serious? You're wasting so much potential. And enough with the silence, I've heard you talking before, so speak. No. Izuku yelled teasingly. No one at school cared to intervene as this was a common occurrence for the two. Every day the two would see each other. Bakugo would ask Midoriya if he was going to be a hero, then the other boy would shake his head, then mime a wall that Bakugo would run into right before he could get an explosion to the face, and then a fist fight for a good 10 minutes would go on until the two got hungry. To be honest, the teachers and other students aren't entirely sure if those kids are friends or enemies. They want to say Bakugo is a bully, but after school the two are usually seen parting ways on amicable terms. It's really confusing for everyone. Those watching turn to see Midoriya point to his outfit underneath his uniform and the black and white makeup he has in his backpack, before throwing Bakugo across the yard with his telekinesis, or as Izuku identifies it as his mime quirk, which grants him the ability to construct whatever he can think of. That right there, you just tossed me like nothing and you want to waste it on party tricks. Bakugo seethed. Everyone held their breath in anticipation to see what Midoriya would do next. The bushy-haired boy merely gasped and glared at the blonde. How dare you? I haven't ventured out to parties yet and you know that. He yelled, looking very insulted. Is anyone gonna stop them? A girl asked. Do you want to get caught in the middle of that? Another girl asked, pointing to Midoriya, pretending to toss a lasso onto Bakugo and tying him up, while the other boy rides on the ground. I'm not getting trapped in a box again like last week, another boy says, walking off. Aizu, honey, how was school? A tall and skinny greenite asked from the kitchen. Getting no response, the mother of one merely giggled, finding it adorable how dedicated her son is at being the #1 mime in the world. I blame letting him watch all those pre-quirk videos of mimes for this hobby. She laughed. Walking into the dining room, Midoriya sees her son in a black and white striped outfit with similar colored face paint. Smiling fondly at her son, Inko asks him if he needs any help with anything before he goes out. Well, Izuku? Anything I can do to help you prepare for your performance this evening? Inko says, trying to hide back her laughter at the fact her 14-year-old son was going to go out a street perform. Izuku looked back at his mom with a smile on his face, giving her a thumbs up indicating he was all set up and ready to go. All right then, but remember, if you need anything don't hesitate to call or text, whichever you prefer. If I'm in trouble I'll call. If it's anything else I'll text, Izuku says happily, not at all minding he was breaking his oath of silence to speak with his mom. Thank you, Izuku. I know how much you hate speaking because it breaks that mime code, but really it lets me know you're safe, Inko said, smiling. I know, Mom, but I'd break any code for you. Izuku says, grinning before his mother shoos him off. Too pure. Inko gushes as her son leaves the apartment. Izuku was at the shopping district in his mime outfit preparing for his show. Well, he couldn't really call it a show since he just randomly performs and hopes people will stop what they're doing to watch him. He's yet to garner a full following, but that might be because mimes aren't that popular. Izuku was busy getting himself out of a box when he saw a cute girl about to pass him by. She had orange hair and nice blue eyes, and while most people would think being a mime is all he cares about, they would be dead wrong. So Izuku, doing the only thing he could think of to catch the girl's attention, decided to rope her in and bring her back to him. Hopefully she didn't find that weird. While he prepares his rope, he saw a small crowd begin to gather, interested in seeing why a boy dressed up weird was messing with his hands. Izuku saw the girl was getting closer, but in his haste to unwrap the rope got everything knotted up. At least he acted like he did. Exclamation point. Laughter rung around the crowd at seeing the mime panic at the invisible rope get messed up. Itsuka Kendo wasn't sure why she was hanging around the shopping district when she wasn't in much of a shopping mood, but she figured taking a break from her martial arts practice was needed. Looking back now, she regrets not being so vigilant. As soon as Izuku heard the laughter around him, he realized that his antics towards trying to get the girl's attention was getting him noticed, which was perfect. Also perfect was the girl about to pass his crowd. Izuku pointed to the crowd, stopping their laughter, making them look at who he was pointing at. As everyone turned to see who he was pointing to, they saw a girl about his age in a brown motorcycle jacket mindlessly walking about. When the crowd looked back, they saw Izuku on the ground performing CPR on himself. The crowd couldn't help but laugh at the boy's antics towards this random girl. When Izuku finally got up, he put on binoculars to search for the girl again, hoping he hadn't missed his chance with her. "What's the kid doing?" a random crowd watcher asked. "I don't know, but I think he's supposed to be looking out of binoculars or something like that. This kid's a riot." When Izuku put his self-made binoculars down and threw back an imaginary fishing pole, or at least to everyone around him it was imaginary, he was illegally using his quirk. His face lit up when he sensed he caught something. Izuku looked to everyone with a thumbs up, his grin causing smiles on everyone else's face. Then the boy began to reel back his fishing pole, fighting back every once in a while. Kendo continued to walk around hoping something would catch her eye when she felt something pull at her jacket. Looking around, she couldn't see the culprit, which caused slight panic and anger. As she got pulled away to a crowd of people unwillingly, her anger grew. "Whoa, this kid looks like he actually caught something? Nah, I call bull, he's just doing that and then he's gonna act like he lost. Oh my god, it's that girl." Another crowd watcher yelled, surprised by the boy's skill. "Hey, let me go, what the hell?" Itsuka yelled as she struggled to get out of an invisible grip. The entire crowd watching Izuku finish reeling in the orange-haired girl was baffled at this boy's skill. "Who the hell are you and why can't I get free?" Itsuka yelled. Izuku, ever the gentleman, gave the girl his card after letting her go, and with a bow revealed to her a flower. "Ooh, this guy is smooth." "Izuku Midoriya, the greatest mime to live," Kendo read aloud, trying to hold back her laughter at the boy's card, her anger dissipating once she saw who had literally caught her attention. "Are you being serious? You're a mime?" Izuku smiled at the pretty girl, nodding, pointing to his ensemble, then pretending to be stuck behind a wall. "Well, he sure is dedicated." The girl looked at him with a small smile as he continued to perform other tricks. Once he seemed to finally finish with getting himself out of a box, she walked up to him. "So, can I ask why you wrangled me over here? Literally?" she deadpanned. Izuku smiled, nodding vehemently. Itsuka waited for his answer, realizing she wasn't going to get one because he was a mime, and watched as he acted it out. Izuku knew if he was going to score a date with this girl, he had to be smooth, and so began Izuku the Mime's hardest performance ever. The crowd surrounding the two waited with bated breath for the boy to act. "You think the mime's got a chance? Nah, he can't even talk." Little did they know. Itsuka watched as the boy put a hand on her shoulder and quickly withdraw it as if he had been burned. Confused, she looked to the boy, watching as he silently blew on it. "Why did he pretend to burn himself on me? I'm not." Kendo blushed lightly at the mime's advances. The crowd oohing at such a smooth act. Izuku, seeing that his actions were getting a reaction, continued and quickly looked at the girl and began fanning himself, while pulling at his collar. He then pretended to pour himself a few drinks and gulp it down. Kendo watched as the boy acted out drinking while getting hot, being around her, her blush intensifying. So obviously he's thirsty. The crowd clapping at the boy's skills to flirt while seemingly being silent. Izuku smiled as he saw the girl in front of him begin to cover her face as he continued his actions. Deciding to be blunter, Izuku pulls out a sign with a giant heart on it and points to the girl. "Excellently executed," a man said. "Well done. Did not expect a mime to be so smooth." "How the hell are you so smooth? You're a mime, you can't even talk." Kendo yells. Izuku merely grins before shooting finger guns at the girl. Then looking to the crowd who had begun to disperse, collecting the tips they left for him. "Wow, okay, so I was just hit on by a mime and fell for it. What even is life now?" Kendo said, going to walk off before realizing she can't move. Slowly she realizes she's being pulled back by an invisible pole, and as she turns her head, she sees Izuku pretending to pull a rope, wiping his forehead as he pretended to struggle to do so. "Okay, what now?" the girl asked, visibly exhausted. Smiling at the girl, Izuku pulls a card out of nowhere, moving it in her face. 2 words and a slew of digits were the only thing on it, but really that was all that was needed to cause the girl to blush heavily. "You want me to call you? Would you even be able to talk to me?" Kendo asked. Izuku frowned, before grinning again and nodding. Pointing to the girl, he gave a thumbs up. "So, if I called you, you'd answer?" Again, Izuku shot finger guns. "All right then. I'll think about it," Kendo said before walking off, only to hit an invisible wall. "What the F, Midoriya?" The mime at least had the decency to blush while shrugging, as if he forgot about the invisible wall that was there. When Izuku got home, he told his mother everything that had happened. The squeal of happiness that came from Inko Midoriya was heard all down their block. Itsuka was at her father's dojo looking at the card the weird mime boy gave her when it was snatched out of her hand by the last person. She wanted to see it. Who the hell is Izuku Midoriya, the greatest mime to live, and why does this card say call me? Well, if it wasn't already obvious, he's a mime. And he asked me out. Kendo said, cringing at how weird that sounded. "Kendo, how does a mime ask you out? They don't speak." He acted out a bunch of gestures, and somehow I ended up accepting his number. Kendo said, "Kendo, I want you to know that I love you, but you've got some weird taste in boys." The dojo master father said before walking off. Kendo could only stand with her mouth agape at her father's remark. The next day happened to be a weekend, the best time for Izuku to scout out potential performance spots. While he was almost done getting dressed, Izuku heard his phone begin to ring, and while usually he would ignore it given this was his dress-up time, he had been waiting for a call from a certain orange-haired girl. "Hello," a soft-spoken voice called. "Izuku the Great speaking, how may I help you?" Kendo couldn't help but snort at the boy's response. "Oh, hi, this is Kendo, the girl you caught during one of your performances. You said I could call you," she said. "Indeed, and you have. And I'm really surprised." Izuku, not bothering to hide how shocked he was. "Oh, and why is that?" she retorted. "A mime gave you his number after hitting on you through random actions. If I were you, I'd probably have chucked my card." "Well, your actions said a lot, even if you didn't speak at all to me." "Well, I am dedicated to my work," he joked. "Oh, I see. So if I were to ask you out, would I see you dressed up as a mime or a regular person?" Kendo asked. "Well, that depends." "On what?" she asked, curious. "Does the face paint turn you on, though?" "Oh my god, I'm starting to regret this phone call," she chuckled. "I never heard a no, Kendo, Izuku-san. Just meet me at the shopping center tomorrow, same place you were doing your weird mime thing," she sighed. "Of course. But you still never told me if you wanted me in my mime attire or not. What do you think?" "Surprise you got it," Izuku quickly answered before hanging up. "I'm gonna regret this date, I can already feel it," Kendo sighed. The next day Izuku was a mess deciding on what to wear to his date with the pretty girl he had met. He had wanted his mom's help, but she had already gone out for breakfast with Aunt Mitsuki. So now Izuku was left alone to find an outfit that was nice but not too nice. Maybe this would work, he thought. Kendo wasn't sure what to expect when she said yes to a date with a mime. His only outstanding features were green hair and green eyes. His face paint kinda distracted you from noticing any outstanding facial features, so she wasn't sure how he looked underneath all that. That's why when a rather cute-looking boy with freckles walked up to her rather flustered, she was, well, the only word she could think of was shocked. The mime who hit on her was bold, the boy she talked to on the phone was suave, her date in front of her was meek and adorable, and if anyone were to ever hurt him, she'd probably kill everyone around her than herself. "Midoriya?" Kendo asked. "Uohihei Kukendo. Ho, how's it going?" Midoriya said, once able to make eye contact with the girl. "Hold on a sec, what happened to the boy on the phone who thought I liked him better with the face paint on, or the mime who literally pulled me over to him?" she said, shocked. Midoriya couldn't help but blush as she brought hat up, looking anywhere else but at her. Well, you see, when I'm performing I kinda get into a different persona, like an actor, so I perform better around crow crowds." And on the phone, It's easier to talk to you because I can't see you. He explained. How is that easier talking to me? She asked. You're really pretty and I've never really talked to such a pretty girl before. It's kinda intimidating. I didn't really think you'd call me. Izuku chuckles. Kendo's face turned red at the boy's admission. She still couldn't believe that the mime she met just the day before was this meek boy, but some part of her found it sweet. I understand if you don't want to go out anymore, Izuku says, looking away. Kendo can't help but giggle at the awkward boy in front of her, sighing when she thinks to herself that, yes, she is still going to go on a date with this weirdo mime boy. As weird as this whole thing is, I'd love to still go on a date with you. Really? Izuku says, shocked. Yes. Really? Kendo says, shocked herself. As the two eat their food, they begin discussing what they plan to do after middle school. It took a bit of time, but Izuku finally began to get comfortable around Kendo enough to stop stuttering. So, you still haven't decided on what high school to go to? Kendo asked, surprised. No, my focus is miming, so I'm probably going to go to the one near my apartment. Izuku explained. How about you? Well, I plan on going to U.A to be a hero. Kendo says, happily. That's so cool. What's your quirk? I call it Big Fist. I can enlarge my fists, which also strengthens them. Kendo explains, it's not that impressive, but it should be enough to get me in the hero course. Izuku smiled wide at the girl, causing a slight blush on Kendo. No way, that's amazing, you could do all sorts of stuff with that. If you need to swipe away any type of residue or say poison gas, you could use your hands as fans, or lift debris easily. Depending on how well you're training, you could probably take down villains twice your size. If you do martial arts, your close combat would be amazing. Kendo stared at the boy in front of her wide-eyed. In a matter of seconds, he had analyzed her quirk and even guessed that she could double the advantage by doing martial arts. Wow, that's exactly right. I'm currently doing karate to help me with my close combat. How did you do that? Kendo asked. Izuku rubbed the back of his head, embarrassed. Well, when I was younger I used to analyze hero quirks, but then I kinda stopped once I started learning how to be a mime. I really want to be the best mime in the world, so I devoted all my time to the arts. Izuku said with his eyes shining. Really? I just assumed miming was some sort of secondary thing you did with your quirk. That was your quirk you used on me, right? Izuku scratched his cheek, embarrassed at being caught. Yeah, I call it mime since I can create invisible constructs, hence the rope. It's also kinda an ode to what I plan to be. And I did want to be a hero when I was younger, but then I saw these pre-quirk videos of this famous mime Charlie Chaplin and my entire dream changed. Now I want to make people smile with my performances. Kendo smiled fondly at the boy's declaration, although she couldn't help but think of something. Well, if you wanted to be a hero when you were younger, why don't you just do both? I mean, a lot of other heroes have side jobs alongside heroing. Izuku stared at the girl, speechless. He never really thought about doing dual professions, but then again, after all this time, does he even want to do both? I don't know, I guess I never really thought how heroing and miming could go together. For me, I've always been a one-track mind. He said, smiling. So that means U.A is a no-go, huh? Kendo said, smiling sadly. At first Izuku wasn't sure why Kendo looked so sad, but then he realized that if he and Kendo were pursuing different passions, then they wouldn't be able to see each other that much, and he was having a lot of fun with the girl in front of him. So he'd be stupid to let the girl who was okay with him being a mime go. Would you believe me if I told you I just decided on applying for the general ed course at U.A? He said sheepishly. No, but I would find it flattering if you decided to make that choice just so we could see each other more. Kendo said, smiling. What, no? I mean, yeah, I'd love to go out with you more and possibly be your boyfriend, but Kendo, you're moving too fast for me. I mean, even though I want to put my all into miming, I still need a good education so I can get into a good college, and what better school than U.A? Izuku tried to say. Kendo merely looked at Izuku's blushing face and began laughing. So, you don't want a second date? Kendo joked, eyebrow raised. Yes, please. Izuku said. I have a martial arts competition next weekend. If you want to come watch me, Kendo said, smiling, hoping the boy's answer would be yes. I'd love to see you kick butt. And maybe you can come see more of my shows. Izuku says happily. Kendo giggles at his enthusiasm, happy with his answer. Sure, just promise you won't rope me into being a part of them. No promises. He winks. Rolling her eyes, she waves goodbye, leaving behind the greenette, who was mentally slapping himself for what he said earlier. Bakugu's gonna kill me. Now it was morning and Izuku was back to his silent persona, hoping to go by unnoticed. Of course, he knew that wasn't going to happen since his childhood friend constantly nagged him to be a hero, and now that he was planning on applying to UA, mainly to see Kendo, well, he knew today was not going to be a good day. He wasn't sure how he was going to explain that he was just going for the Gen Ed course and not the hero course, but well, he'll cross that bridge when he gets to it. His dream is to still be a mime, of course. As of right now, he was sitting in class, all the way in the back, thankfully going unnoticed and listening to the teacher drone on about things he already knew. Thankfully, everyone just ignored him since they found him weird for not wanting to use his quirk for hero work. No one wants to be associated with a weirdo mime. Since you're all third years, it's time for you to think seriously about your futures, the teacher began one morning. I'd pass out handouts for your future plans, but... He grabbed the stack of papers on his desk, and with a flourish, tossed them up into the air. You're all pretty much planning to go into the hero course, right? The classroom erupted into noise, with kids showing off their quirks. Izuku, on the other hand, was writing things in his mime analysis for the future book, ignoring everyone around him. Yes, you all have wonderful quirks, the teacher cried, but using them at school is against the rules. Yo, teach, Bakugu called, cutting through the noise. Don't lump me in the same group as these extras. I'm not gonna be stuck at the bottom with the rest of these rejects. The room once more exploded into sound, but this time it was with his classmates yelling at the blonde for being rude. You should all shut up like the extras you are. Bakugu shouted back, seeming to take pleasure in the way his peers got even more riled up. Ah, the teacher drawled, everybody stopping their yelling to give him their attention. The man was looking at one of the pieces of paper now scattered on his desk. It seems that you want to go to U.High, right, Bakugu? Eh? That national school? It was in the top 0.2% of high schools this year. Isn't their acceptance rate always really low? Exactly! Bakugu shouted, putting a stop to the chatter. That's why you guys are just a bunch of extras. He leaned back further in his chair, then pushed himself into the air with just his arms alone, landing on the desk to tower above the rest of the class. I aced the mock exam. I'm the only one at this school that could possibly get into U today. I'll surpass All Might and become the top hero. My name will be the highest on the list of top earners. Bakugu cried with passion, steadily getting louder and using explosive movements to match his tone. Izuku couldn't help but smile at his frenemy. While he saw him as cocky, he also knew he had immense potential to be a great hero. If only he got off his high horse. The teacher, used to his students' antics, spent a moment shuffling through some other papers before something caught his eye. Oh, Midoriya, I'm honestly surprised by what you wrote, but it seems like you're aiming for U.2, aren't you? Guess you decided to give up on your mime dream and put that quirk of yours to good use. Izuku put his hands on his stomach to bellow. He didn't laugh. When he was finished, he pointed to the paper in his teacher's hand so he would check again. The teacher, ignoring the boy's theatrics, took a look to see he had applied for the general course. Ah, I see you just want to go in the Gen Ed course. Miming's still your dream? Before Midoriya could give a thumbs up to the elder, an explosion hit his desk. Do you? Bakugu slammed his hands on the wannabe mime's desk, causing the boy to fall back in response to the explosion he had caused. Are you seriously gonna apply to U.A and only for the Gen Ed course? You're better than that. Stop acting so useless and aim higher. Why the hell does Bakugu want Midoriya to go to U.A with him so bad? Someone whispered. Hell if I know. Izuku's eyes widened in fear. Seeing the other boy's face redden in anger, he began waving his hands for Bakugu to back off. You have a quirk that's better than all these extras, even if it is named lame and you use it for your din mime tricks. Be a hero for FS Sake. Who is Bakugu even kidding? Midoriya is too determined to be a mime, he'd never bother even trying to be a hero. He'll never quit being a lame mime. Seriously, I doubt anyone could change his mind. Alright, that's enough. If Izuku wants to be a mime, then let the boy be Bakugu. The teacher finally spoke, silencing him. Izuku rolled his eyes at the side comments and let out a sigh of breath when he saw Bakugu finally back off. He knew the other boy wanted him to be a hero, but why he can't understand. Izuku's end goal was being a mime, and he'd be dead if anyone stopped him. He just wanted to attend UA so he could see Kendo, and that was it. The end of the day came without any more explosions to the face, which Izuku was all too thankful for. He went to leave happy the day was finally ending, only to be confronted by Katsuki and his goons. Well, if it isn't Deku the Mime. The mime in training merely saluted, annoying the blonde. Bakugu grit his teeth, replacing his expressionless face with a very set of one. Deku, you need to look at things realistically. Being a mime is a waste of your time and those who you try to make watch you. Goatee, join me in the hero course. Be a demon hero, you annoying F-. Stop this nonsense. Izuku merely glared at the boy, crossing his arms, pulling out a sign, ? Bakugu eye twitched in annoyance. If you don't know why, then fine, be a demon mime, see if I care. After the confrontation with Bakugu, Izuku was walking through a tunnel, making his way home with a frown on his face. Bakugu wants to be the #1 hero in the world, so why does he want me competing against him, he thought. Even though Izuku had never really cared for heroics, he still thought All Might was one of the greats and agreed with Bakugu that being the #1 hero was an admirable goal, but so was becoming the #1 mime. Whatever, it doesn't matter, I'll just keep on smiling and making others laugh. Doing a silent laugh, cheering himself up. Thankfully, due to Izuku's silence, he was able to hear the slushing coming from behind him from the sewer. Once he fully turned around, he was able to see a giant sludge monster, his face changing to an expression of horror. Oh no! A medium-sized skin suit. Yes, you'll do just fine. The thing said, its voice just as grotesque as its face. Izuku paled, realizing its choice of words, and tried running away, only for it to send a tendril of sludge towards him and reel him back. It's okay, kid, it'll be over soon, so how about you stop fighting it? I need to get out of here before he arrives. Izuku was clawing at the slime on his face, trying to get it of him without luck. Is this how Izuku thought he started to suffocate. Is this how it ends? The world getting blurry as he slowly gave up. You're going to be the best mime ever, Izuku honey. Izuku's eyes widened as he remembered those words his mom said to him. Flashback. He had just finished watching a black and white silent film made from the pre-Quark era. The movie had a man dressed in a tuxedo and bowler hat running from cops into a mirror room, constantly bumping into himself. To others it'd probably be boring, but to Izuku it was hilarious. Mom, do you think I could be like Charlie Chaplin? I thought you wanted to be a hero like All Might? Inko asked. Heroes are cool, but that guy's funny and he makes people smile too, just look. A 6-year-old Izuku said as he showed his mom videos of the famous Charlie Chaplin performing, causing uproars of laughter. I want to do that, I want to make people smile with my performances. Inko smiled softly at her son, nodding. I know you will. You're going to be the best mime ever, Izuku honey. Flashbackins. Izuku's eyes widened. That's right. As he clenched his hand on the slime. Mom believes in me, so I need to show her I can be the best mime in the world. Slowly Izuku worked up the energy to use his miming quirk and draw out the sludge monster, shocking the villain himself. I have to become a mime. Right as he was about to fully get the sludge villain fully out of his body, the hero he never expected to show up did. Do not fear, for I am here. Izuku immediately felt his body get tired and let All Might take over. Texas Smayawayawash was the last thing he heard before knocking out. Yo, wake up. Izuku woke up, startled by his face getting slapped and the loud sound. Letting his eyes adjust took some time, but once he could see clearly, he almost fainted in seeing the #1 hero in front of him. Oh, thank goodness, I was getting worried. Izuku, forgetting he was in character, merely brought a sign out with exclamation points as he jumped to his feet. Yes, well, thanks for the assist, but I should get going. All Might said, turning around. Izuku shook himself out of a trance, realizing he was in mime mode. Calling out for all might, he picked up his mime analysis for the future book only to see it already signed. Wait a second, could you give an auto dash? He already did. Wow, Bakugu is gonna love this. Oh, so you can speak, that's good. Anyway, I really should be going after all. I have to put this guy away. Holding 2 soda bottles filled with the sludge villain, Izuku froze. Oh yeah, need to take that guy to jail. All Might started to stretch. Yup, so thanks for the help, kid, but I'll be going. Midoriya, my name's Izuku Midoriya. And thanks for the help. See ya, Midoriya. All Might say before shooting off. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I talked to All Might and got his autograph. Bakugu is gonna be so jealous, Izuku thought. While Izuku continued his endless train of thought, he failed to notice where his legs were taking him. I can't believe Deku doesn't want to be a hero. He's got a pretty cool quirk, and to just let it waste away. The winged minion says. I know it's pathetic, right? The other one said. Katsuki didn't say anything, still set off his former friend, didn't want to be a hero. What happened to our promise, you stupid Deku? We were supposed to be the best heroes the world would ever see. Hey, Bakugu, you okay? The other minion said, pulling out a cigarette and lighting it. Katsuki turned around in anger and swatted the cigarette away with an explosion. What the hell did I tell you about smoking that sheet around me? And not T2. If I get a mark like that, my chances at you today are gone. Hey, why don't we head to the arcade? That'll be fun. The winged minion said, trying to placate him. Katsuki took a few deep breaths before grunting. Fine. However, before they could get far, a chilling voice stopped the 3 boys. Ooh, a medium-sized skin suit with a powerful quirk, excellent. A disgusting voice said, accompanied by the sound of slush. I can't wait to show Mom my autograph. Izuku said to himself, unaware of the area he was walking to. Boom! Whoa, what's happening? A villain attack, that's what. A villain attack? Looking up, he realized he was in a crowd. Man, this would be the perfect crowd for a mime performance. Too bad a villain is here. Hey, isn't it that sludge villain from before? Yeah, wasn't All Might chasing him? Izuku froze. But how did he get out if he was with All Might? Damn it, I can't get to him, can anyone else? Death Arms said. I'm too busy with this fire. Backdraft shouted. Wood and fire don't mix. Kamui Woods running, carrying citizens to safety. A one-way street, my only weakness. Milady said. No heroes around to save the hostage? But there's heroes all over? Izuku said, looking around. Why aren't the heroes doing anything? A random crowd watcher asks. Because he keeps letting off explosions. Another answered. Izuku froze when he heard that and slowly looked at the sludge villain. He has a hostage. Who is letting explosions off? The hostage is Kaken. He needs help. Kaken needs help. Kid. Stop, get back here. Death Arms yelled at Izuku as he ran past the brigade towards Katsuki. Wait, what? Izuku's eyes widened when he realized what was happening. Why am I running? He thought. I can't stop my legs. Izuku thought, immediately pulling out a sign with an exclamation point on it. How could I have let those bottles slip from my pants? If only I was stronger. All Might growl. Looking away from the scene, a tall, skinny blonde clenched his fists, agonizing over his failure of fully capturing the sludge monster. That is until he sees the young boy he ran into and helped him catch the villain the first time. What is that young man thinking? All Might thought. You. The villain said, shooting slime tentacles at Izuku only for him to dodge just barely and continue running too. Kaken. What's that kid doing? What can I do? Izuku thought, running, before remembering one of his moves he could use. Mid-run, the boy stopped where he was, shocking everyone that he would be so bold to be an easy target for the sludge target. That is until they see him grab something off his pants, then begin tossing an invisible rope at the sludge monster, confusing everyone but the hostage himself. What the hell does that kid think throwing nothing is gonna do? Kamui Wood says. Hell, if I can, holy shit, he caught the boy. Everyone in the crowd was in shock as they witnessed the boy lasso Bakugu and slowly pull him from the sludge monster's grip. Deku, what the F are you doing? He screamed, finally able to breathe with the help of Izuku's stupid mimery. How the hell are you doing that? It screamed, dropping its guard, allowing Izuku to get to Katsuki and fully pull him out. Kaken. I couldn't just sit there and watch you die. His face one of determination as he did continue his tug-of-war with the slime monster. I've had it with you, the sludge monster yelled. What the hell, Deku? Just leave and be a mime. I really am pathetic, aren't I? All Might said as he grabbed Izuku and Katsuki free. Letting you boys do all the work while I sit back and relax. Some hero I am. Didn't you, All Might? The villain said while sending an attack in a last-ditch effort. Detroit Smayowawash. Blasting the slime apart before changing the direction of the punch upwards, causing a rain cloud overhead to form. It's raining. Holy crap, he changed the weather with a punch. The crowd cheered for All Might with him giving them a victory pose before looking back at Izuku, who was dizzy from all the sudden movement. Once Izuku was finally able to go home, he was visibly exhausted. Not only did Kaken get praised for his quirk, but he got chastised for his help. Deku. So much for a nice walk home, Izuku thought before turning around to see a very red Katsuki. Katsuki was breathing heavily, stomping his way all the way to the greenette's face. Listen, you didn't help me today. I would have been fine without you. So you go back to being a stupid mime and I'll be the hero. That was strange. Izuku's sweat dropped before turning and going to walk home. I am here. All Might said as he slid into Midoriya Way. All Might, what are you doing here? Izuku shouted, shocked to see his hero again so soon. Bikabilarch. Oh my god, are you alright? You don't look like All Might, you're an imposter, aren't you? I'm gonna get sold because I'm cute, aren't I? My mom told me about people like you. Izuku yelled. What? No, I assure you I'm the real deal. This form is because of an injury that occurred 5 years ago. 5 years ago, that was the toxic chainsaw fight? Please, that guy couldn't hold a candle to me. No, this was something else. Due to that I can only hold my form for 3 hours to the day. All Might explain. Izuku was horrified from this information but kept it hidden, not wanting to worry the symbol of peace. Well, this is nice that you're telling me, but why? Izuku asked, confused. All Might nodded, glad to be back on track of his originally mission for meeting the boy. Tell me, young Midoriya, when you ran to save that boy, your legs, they moved on their own, didn't they? Izuku tapped his chin, trying to remember the feeling. A rush of how fast he was running yet not being able to stop himself coming back. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. All Might smiled wide before saying his next words. You see, young man, the best heroes fight for what's right, they rescue without a second thought, but what a lot of them have in common is that when someone was in danger, their legs moved on their own, including myself. Izuku started to look confused as he told him these things. You ran headfirst into danger when no one else would. Izuku nodded, remembering all the heroes who said there was no way they could help. Young man, you can become a hero. Izuku froze at those words said from his hero, feeling a bit awkward. What? All Might raised his arms in the air. I deem you worthy of inheriting my quirk. But I don't want to be a hero. All Might looked at Izuku curiously, unsure if he heard right, the younger boy's next words causing the man to choke. I want to be a mime, the world's greatest mime to be exact. Are you serious, my boy? You have such great potential to be a hero and you seem to already have a good grasp on how to use your quirk. Izuku began to sweat. It's just I really want to be a mime and put smiles on people's faces with my performances. They say laughter is the best form of medicine and I want to make people laugh. All Might's sweat dropped at his hopeful successor. My boy, have you ever thought that perhaps you could do both? All Might asks. Izuku stood frozen at All Might's suggestion. Just a thought, young Midoriya. You could make people smile with your miming and with saving people. That's what heroes do. They save people with a smile on their face, which in turn makes the people smile. Izuku looked at the tall man before giving his answer. I mean, that's really tempting, but I have a lot of work cut out for me in miming and stuff. Are you serious? I'm giving you an offer of a lifetime and you're still hesitant. All Might choked. Then again, if I got to UA for the hero course, I could see kendo more, and I mean making double the amount of people smile. Izuku started mumbling, ignoring All Might. All Might's sweat dropped at his successor. Alright, I'll do it, but you have to promise this hero stuff won't get in the way of my miming. Izuku said with a smile on his face. Huh, you're weird, but I'm glad you said yes. I promise you'll have time for your mime stuff, young Midoriya. Now meet me at Dagoba Beach tomorrow at 8 a.m. Izuku laid in his room thinking over All Might's words, unable to get over them. Heroes make people smile too. Izuku already knew this from seeing All Might save people. It's just the way Charlie Chaplin did it was so different that Izuku wanted to see if he could do the same. Now here's the number one hero telling him exactly what Kendo told him, that he could do the same as a hero and a mime. Well, looks like I'm gonna see if it's possible after all. At least Bakugo's gonna be happy, it think? Dinner was a silent affair as Inko Midoriya was still slightly worried over her son's actions. He hadn't mentioned wanting to be a hero since he was so. It was a shock when she saw him go to save Bakugo. Then again, I always knew deep down he still had a heroic heart. Mom. Inko was brought out of her stupor when she heard her son's voice. Yes, honey. Do you think I could be a hero and still be a mime? Izuku asked hesitantly. Inko was unsure where this was coming from, but she knew she had to answer this carefully. Honey, why are you asking this now? You've been trying to be a mime, the number one mime, for years. I thought you gave up being a hero? I had. But then I met someone's who said I could do both, and it just made me think why I never thought about that, you know. All these years I could have aimed for both, but instead I only focused on one. Izuku, honey. It's okay that you did. Being dedicated to one thing over another isn't bad, it just proves how determined you are to reach that goal, Inko said, smiling. But if you feel like being a hero is still important to you, then I think you should go for it. Izuku smiled, nodding. His mom was right as always. Just because he focused on one thing doesn't mean he can't focus on another. As of tomorrow, Izuku was going to go for being the number one hero mime in the world. The next day, Izuku woke up prepared to meet All Might. So why are we here at Dagoba Beach, All Might? Well, we have some training to do. You're not worthy of OFA just yet. But you said I was earlier? Midoriya said. Your body isn't. My quirk OFA binds the physical strength of many people into one. Your limp noodle body isn't ready for it. Your limbs would pop right off. All Might explained. Now that's not true at all, Izuku said as he ripped off his shirt, mildly insulted. For a mime you are actually quite fit, All Might said, surprised. Nevertheless, you still are not prepared for OFA. You need to make your body into a proper vessel, and I have just the way to do that. Here is my aim to pass, American Dream Plan. All Might said. Passing the papers off to Izuku, the new hero in training looked through the exercise schedule, grimacing. Once All Might deflated, he began speaking again. You'll follow this plan for the next 10 months, as the entrance exam will be taking place in 10 months. You've trained your body well, but you still need some training. As for why I chose this place for your training, well, not only will you train your body, but you'll also clean up this beach. Oh yeah. This spot was a tourist attraction and pretty popular in the past, but ever since then, it's been deserted and trashed. Midoriya said as he looked at the massive amount of garbage stacked up on top of each other. It used to be heroes were about civil service, but now it's all about being a celebrity. All Might said. Anyways, let's begin your training. All Might bellowed as he fist pumped the air. Midoriya mimicked his mentor's actions, and just like that, they began the training. Training with the best hero in the world was rather grueling as Midoriya panted, carrying his mentor in the morning with the sun basking them in warm sunlight. While Midoriya was at home, he made sure to go over the aim to pass workout plan, only for him to focus on one part. All Might kept his promise, Izuku thought as he read the hour-and-a-half allotted time for Izuku to practice his miming. It wasn't much, but he understood that he needed the training more than the miming right now. Izuku felt his heart soar at the number one hero consideration. It was nearing the end of the week when Izuku looked at his calendar and saw what was coming up, Kendo's martial arts competition. He looked at his training schedule and saw he had Saturday free to do as he pleased. Awesome, and Kendo's competition isn't until the evening, so I can squeeze in a performance before I have to meet her. I'm sure she won't mind if I show up in my mime attire. Izuku said happily. Izuku prepared himself for this performance. He not only got his face paint on, his mom pressed his shirt, shined his shoes, and even packed all his signs. Today was a good day to be a mime. As he headed to the park where apparently Pop Step was also said to be performing, he was filled with excitement. If he was right, then the crowd that would be there would be huge, seeing as Pop Step was well known all around Japan. With this type of exposure, he could start to get his name around. Izuku had just gotten to the park when he saw a huge crowd awaiting Pop Step. He knew this since no one was around yet, and he heard a stranger say that Pop Step had yet to show up. It was with this information he hurried to the opposite corner. Street performer etiquette says you never take their spot even if they're a few minutes late, and started to set up. With the case set, his sign which stated his name up, Izuku began to perform. Okay, first trick walking up the stairs, Izuku thought, as he began to carry himself with his quirk. However, to the crowd it seemed like he was walking on invisible stairs. Holy crap, look at that kid over there, he's walking on air. Someone shout, garnering the attention of the awaiting crowd for Pop Step. Then they saw Izuku walking on what they assumed was a tightrope as he pretended to wobble back and forth. A second person noticing this began laughing as the boy went to walk through a door to greet them, but walked face first into it. Then as he tried to open it, found it locked. As he tried to pull it open, the crowd found the boy in midair hanging onto nothing trying to pull open a door. Then he went to lifting an invisible hammer and banging it on the door. When it broke through, he flew into the crowd. Izuku merely pulled a sign out as he flew to them, the crowd doing their best to not manhandle him and put him down gently. Laughter rang around as Izuku began to bow to them in apology for such a short show, enjoying the applause and chant of his name. Kendo was warming up for her turn against the other green belt student when she looked to the stands again to see if the boy she had lunch with last week was there. When she saw the green hair missing, she frowned to herself, thinking of course he wouldn't come, he's probably more focused on being a mime. There was only one more round until it was her turn, and it was as she was readying herself to go up that the dojo doors slammed open. The entire dojo looked to see who would cause a ruckus, Kendo included, only for her to turn bright red and turn back around. Laughter rang as the crowd saw a boy in mime attire and a sign with their very own Kendo's face walk in smiling. Kendo's father couldn't help keeping the sheet-eating grin off his face as he grabbed his daughter from the floor, dragging her to where the boy stood. Dad, what the hell are you doing? I'm up next, I should be warming up. Kendo yelled as everyone began to put two and two together. The older kids not even trying to hold back their laughter as they see the mime waving to Kendo, then pointing to his sign. The dojo master only shook his head, enjoying this too much as he looked to his daughter who was covering her beet red face. Kendo, you sure do know how to pick him. You know, at first, I was worried I was gonna have to give him the old shovel talk, but this guy looks like a nerd and you most likely would break his heart before he does yours. He laughs. Shut up, Dad. Kendo hissed, as they reached Izuku, who was taking pictures with the little kids of the dojo. Hey you, are you Izuku the Great? Kendo's father asked, thrilled to meet the mime. Midoriya, this is my dad, Kenta. The Izuku. Kendo said with a sigh. Although Izuku wanted to speak, given he was in the presence of the father of the girl he liked, Izuku was still in mime attire, therefore he couldn't speak, not yet. Instead he mimed and gave the man a thumbs up. The dojo master nodded. Don't you speak when in the presence of your elders, Midoriya? Izuku shook his head, pointing to his attire. You're pretty dedicated to your mime getup, huh? The sensei asked. Izuku gave him a thumbs up, then winked. Gotta ask Midoriya, what are your intentions with my daughter? 'Cause she plans on being a hero and I can't have anyone being an obstacle stopping her from her dream, the man says with a glare. Izuku begins to sweat at the bulky man. Waving his hands, Izuku points to himself, then begins to punch the air and do karate chops to the air. Once finished, he gives a big smile and bellows a silent laugh. While most everyone looks confused, the man in front of him smiles in approval. So, you plan on being a hero too, huh? Alright then, I'll allow you to date my daughter, if that's the case, he says, walking off. The entire dojo all began to think the same thing. How did you get that from him punching the air and laughing? Kendo merely looks at the boy before going, "We're having a talk after this." Izuku winks and blows a kiss, causing the girl to blush. Stupid mime. Izuku watched as the girl he liked flipped the green belt on his back with ease. She was aiming to move to the next bracket in the dojo, and honestly at this rate she was going to get it. At least that's what Izuku thought as he saw her kick the guy down in one fell swoop. The other dojo members. "Look at the mime holding that picture of Kendo," a blue belt said laughing, as he saw Izuku silently cheer towards the orange-haired beauty. "What a nerd, can't believe Kendo actually likes that weirdo." "I'm not gonna lie, I think it's cool that the kid isn't embarrassed to go out in public like that and just perform," an older student said to the blue belt who was trying to make fun of Izuku, the younger student looking down in embarrassment at no one going along with his jibes against the greenette. "Takes guts to be able to put on that face paint and even pretend to hit an invisible wall. I may be able to judo flip people twice my size, but I could never do what that kid does," another older student says with a laugh as they watch Izuku pull out a random sign with a heart and point to Kendo as she waits for the next round to be called. "I really have to talk to him about coming to my competitions in his mime attire," Kendo says blushing. "Ah, come on Kendo, even I gotta admit your boyfriend is adorable as heck," he laughed before she tripped him, pinning him down. No fair," he says. Blowing her hair out of her face, she merely mumbles, "He's not my boyfriend," before walking off to receive her blue belt. After bowing to her father, the dojo master, she switched out the belts, happily showing off the belts to her friend's face, dropping when she felt something pin her arms around her, alarming her friends. "Yo Kendo, what's wrong, you just froze up on us?" one of the older students asked, seeing the younger student face pale frightened him. Seeing her get dragged backwards scared the shit out of him. Seeing this prompted all the students to jump on the girl to not let her get dragged any further. "What the F is happening, sensei?" Their sensei, however, merely cackled at his students' dogpile his daughter, who was just being dragged to the mime boy, who was now struggling to pull the rope with 15 students holding onto his daughter. But apparently the little string bean was stronger than he looked, because slowly his entire class slowly slinked towards him. "What is happening?" Kendo wanted to cry of embarrassment. She honestly wasn't sure whether Izuku was worth this, but then she looked back and saw him pulling the invisible lasso, his red face visible beneath his face paint with a small smile on his face, and she thought, "God damn it, the nerd's worth it." "Sensei, the dojo is haunted." "Oh wait, it's just the weird mime kid trying to drag Kendo to him," the black belt who defended him earlier said laughing. Izuku merely gave a two-finger salute as he paused in his pulling, letting all the students get off Kendo. When every student was off, they saw Kendo practically fly towards Izuku, who caught the girl easily. Although she was angry, the girl merely laughed at the mime, who then decided now would be a nice time to kiss Kendo. How wrong he was. Because of how sweaty he had gotten from trying to pull Kendo along with her friends towards him, his face paint was slowly coming off. Mix that with Kendo's sweat that she forgot to wipe off, and well, once the kiss was done, neither would ever live down what their faces looked like because of it. "Does this mean you're my boyfriend?" Kendo said, smiling, looking ridiculous with his face paint all over her lips. Izuku nodded happily, trying to hide his laughter at what he saw. However, the rest of the dojo did not, and the flashes from their camera phones did nothing to hide Kendo's concern. When she went to the bathroom to see why everyone was looking at her, a scream was heard and laughter outside was bellowed, Izuku's included. "Okay, Mr. Midoriya, no funny business while you and my daughter are out on your date," Kendo's father said, arms crossed. Behind him, his students stood in the same pose so to intimidate the young mime, who for some reason had yet to change his attire. "Well, to be fair, he's a mime, so there's bound to be some funny business," an older student points out, before the dojo master glares at him to shut up. I mean, ya mime boy, be good to our Kendo or we'll make you regret it," the black belt threatens. "Guys, can you stop trying to scare away Izuku?" Kendo whined. Kendo's father looked back to his daughter. "You doubt that's gonna happen? Your mime boyfriend doesn't look the least intimidated by a third-degree black belt and 20 other martial arts students," he deadpants. Kendo, confused, looks behind her to see what he's talking about, to see Izuku shooting finger guns with a big grin. Of course he wouldn't take their threat serious, she thought. Unknown to any of them, Izuku was scared shitless but was merely hiding it behind his mime persona. Oh my god, Please God, don't let me do anything to make Kendo cry, he thought as he continued to smile happily. Mr. Kendo, sensei, no offense to you or Kendo, but spit it out, the dojo master sighs. Your daughter has interesting taste in boys. The older man shakes his head chuckling. Hey, don't look at me, I met Kendo's mother in high school and last I checked she wasn't a mime, he said. So, Kendo just has a mime FD, the blue belt who insulted Izuku earlier says. My daughter does not have a FD, Kensei, she has a type. The dojo master says, glaring at the younger boy. Understand? Yes, master, sorry master, the boy says, bowing, the black belt joining in, feeling he was overstepping as well. Very well. Now go back to your exercises and never mention my daughter's weird taste in boys again, got it? He claps. Yes, sensei. Meanwhile, at a all-might-themed cafe, two teens were discussing their choices for high schools. So, you decided to join the hero course after all? Kendo says with a smile. Izuku, still in his mime attire, gives a thumbs up, silently laughing at the girl's exasperated look. You really can't talk to me, even now that you're not performing, she questions. Izuku looks apologetic as he pulls out a sign with the word no on it. His girlfriend giving him a certain look he can't decipher. That is until he sees her lips twitch up and she begins to smile at his silliness. Fine, but promise when you're not miming, we'll have a talk about you changing your mind about which course you're going to attend at UA. Kendo says with the, in Izuku's opinion, cutest puppy dog eyes he's ever seen. Deep inside Izuku he has an internal battle. He knows he has a mime code which forbids him from speaking while wearing his mime attire, but at the same time seeing Kendo look sad makes him want to break it. Izuku, are you okay? You look like you're in pain. He's gone, Kendo says, shaking her head. Weirdest boyfriend ever, she thinks as she looks at the empty chair in front of her. 10 minutes later, and Kendo watched as a regular dressed Izuku walked back to their table smiling with a small blush. Hey Kendo. Oh, hey Izuku, you changed. I honestly didn't expect you to. Not that it isn't nice to see your face, she said with a smile. Yeah, I mean, as much as I love being a mime, I like talking to you too, and it's only fair I tell you about why I changed my mind in courses for you, he said sheepishly. Kendo looked at Izuku for a moment before taking his hand. Izuku, I wasn't pressuring you to tell me or even change back to your regular clothes. I already said I don't mind your miming. I didn't mind waiting to hear how you decided to choose the hero course and miming, she said, hoping she wasn't offending Izuku. Izuku looked at Kendo, his eyes wide at the girl's confession. Clenching his fist, he smiled. Too pure. I love you. What? I mean, I really like that you're so accepting of me being a mime. A lot of people at my school think it's weird, and well, it's really cool that you're okay with me picking you up in my mime attire and you're not embarrassed at all by it or bothered, he said, blushing. Kendo blushed at Izuku's confession, shaking her head. This nerd. Well, I won't lie. It is weird having a mime boyfriend, but then again we live in a world where it's normal to have superpowers, so thinking about it, having a mime for a boyfriend isn't that weird. Kendo reasoned. Izuku smiled at his girlfriend's reasoning, nodding his head. Yeah, and plus when I'm super famous for being the best mime in the world, you can say that you were by my side the whole time cheering me on, Izuku said, pumping his fist. Kendo bit her lip, holding back her laughter at Izuku's announcement, utterly failing. Well, I can't wait for that day, Izuku. Now that we have your mime business out of the way, why don't you tell me how you decided to also be a hero? Kendo asked. Izuku sat up, remembering that the whole point of their date was so he could explain how he changed his mind. Oh, well, to be honest, it was a mixture of you and someone else saying I could do miming and hero work together, Izuku said, rubbing his head. I made you change your mind? Kendo said, blushing. Well, yeah, and someone else who I looked up to. They told me that it's not entirely impossible to be a hero and an entertainer like I want to. If I'm truly dedicated to it, then I can do both. And well, I figured I want to be with you, and I want to make people smile, so why not do both? He said, smiling. Kendo covered her face at hearing one of the reasons Izuku was choosing to be a hero was to be with her. He's so cheesy, yet so smooth. They said I could make double the amount of people smile by helping them as a hero and a mime, which is my true objective, Kendo. I want to be the #1 mime in the world. Being the best hero would just be a bonus, Izuku said with a smile. Kendo smiled back at Izuku, happy to hear about his plans on not only attending the same school as her but choosing the same course in the next few months. Put your back into young Midoriya. You may be a fit little mime, but that doesn't mean you're ready for Ofa yet. All Might yelled atop the refrigerator Izuku was pushing. I am putting my back into you, monster. It'd probably be easier to move if there wasn't an extra 300 pounds atop this thing, he yells back. Hey now, I lost a couple pounds, All Might defends. Doesn't feel like it, Izuku mutters. For a mime you sure are sassy, All Might remarks. I'm not a mime right now, Izuku says, sticking his tongue out. All Might's sweat drops at his successor's reply before jumping off the fridge, so he'll have an easier time moving on to the next pile of junk. Well, young Midoriya, by my calculations, if you keep working at the rate you are, you'll be finished in no time. That's not a calculation, that's an opinion, Izuku deadpants. Same difference, All Might smile. What's up with you, Kendo? Haven't seen you this mad since. Well, can't say I've ever actually seen you mad, Ikari, the older black belt chuckles. Kendo huffs at the older boy as she crosses her arms and looks away. Already changed, Kendo picks up her gym bag and walks over to one of the benches inside of her father's dojo. Sighing, she looks to the boy, who looks like he is genuinely interested in what is bothering her, and decides to tell him. Izuku was supposed to pick me up half an hour ago and hasn't shown up. He hasn't texted to let me know where he was. Either, so I can only assume he was held up by one of his street performances, she sighs. The older boy holds back a laugh, still in disbelief his friend is dating a mime. Trying to find the right words to soothe her worries that her boyfriend didn't ditch her over his mimery, or whatever you would call it. Look, Kendo, I can't speak for your mime boyfriend, but maybe he has a legitimate excuse for why he was late. I mean, for all we know, he was in the middle of a performance when all of a sudden a pro hero saw him using his quirk illegally and went to stop him, so then Midoriya had to run away and has been on the run since. And can you just imagine how that just looks? Ikari finished cackling. Kendo began imaging a pro hero chasing a mime and couldn't help but laugh. It was then her phone began to ring. Hold that really funny thought. Looking to see who it was, she saw that it was her boyfriend's mother, which was unusual since she rarely, if ever, called. Hi Ms. Midoriya. How can I help you? Ikari watched the girl's face go through a myriad of emotions. Yeah, I'm near one right now, why? Oh, he did he? Kendo said, slowly rubbing her forehead in irritation at the news she is hearing from her boyfriend's mother. No, yeah, I'll put it on right now. Thank you for telling me, she sighs. Once hanging up, Kendo finally looks up to the older boy, who can't help but sweat drop at his friend's conversation. What was that about? Izuku's mom called. And? Kendo merely shook her head before going and changing to the news channel in her father's dojo. And that is why Izuku couldn't pick me up, she says, pointing upwards. Within seconds of both watching the news live feed, Ikari falls on the floor laughing, not having expected his words to ring so close to the truth. And here we are live, everyone, in the middle of Hosu, where 3 pro heroes, Eraserhead, Miruko, and even Best Jeanist, are currently in a high pursuit chase after what looks to be a mime who has been evading arrest for illegal quirk use and harming a pro hero. So far, reports say he has trapped rising pro heroes Kamui Woods and Mount Lady in some type of invisible box, created some type of invisible wall for Ingenium to crash into, and from what we've heard, All Might has captured the boy and left the scene, with no further explanation. Oh God, Kendo, turn it off, I'm dying. Kendo merely ignored the boy to hide in a corner away, trying but failing to ignore the fact her boyfriend was currently on the news for evading arrest from 2 top 10 heroes as well as 4 other well-known heroes. She also was trying to ignore the fact her boyfriend was doing it while dressed as a mime. But I just don't get it, why am I into such an idiot? She laughed hysterically, tears of frustration running down her face. It's the face paint, isn't? Ikari said, before getting knocked out by Kendo's big fist. Exclamation point. Izuku technically didn't yell, but he did use one of his signs while tied up. Since he was still in his mime attire. I know, my boy, but the staff deemed it appropriate for someone who was able to evade 6 heroes, one who could erase quirks. All Might laughs. Question mark. Izuku signed. Look, I know you're not a threat, but the others are just being rather cautious since you did technically I guess you could say capture 2 pro heroes, incapacitate 1 and outrun 3 others. All Might chuckles. The next sign is a sad face which causes All Might to pat the boy on the head. Nonsense, my boy, even despite all that has happened, I would never let them stop you from continuing your street performances. Just be a bit more discreet with them, like pop step, you know. In a flash, Izuku's expression changed from saddened to happy in a second, as he nodded his head. Meanwhile, behind the mirrorless window stood 6 heroes, baffled at the current interactions occurring between the number 1 hero and the mime who wreaked havoc throughout Hosu. What the hell is going on? Miruko asked. I don't know, but it looks to me if the symbol of peace is actually able to understand the mime, Best Jeanist said. Leave it to the meathead to be the only one to understand someone who doesn't even speak, Eraserhead said. The other heroes nodding their head in agreement as they continued to watch the 2 people in front of them continue to converse. All the while a bear, mouse, dog smiled at the interesting human who was able to outmaneuver some of the best heroes with a quirk that even he wasn't sure to label. Well then, I guess we have no other choice but to greet our guest of honor, yes? The bear, mouse, dog said, smiling creepily. Leaving the room to see just who this boy was, the heroes followed, hoping to get answers on just who this mysterious mime was. Well, my boy, looks like some people are here to see you about all the trouble you caused them, All Might announced with a small laugh as the door to the room Izuku was currently locked in opened. Turning to the door, Izuku's eyes widened to see all the heroes he outran as well as the principal of UA standing before him. If he wasn't tied up right now, he's sure he'd have fallen from fainting. Yes, a bit surprising how much trouble you caused for someone so young, Niza said as he walked in with 6 other heroes. You got some nice moves, kid, but a wall really? Ingenium said, rubbing his broken nose. Sorry. Izuku signed. I don't know how you were able to evade us all, but you are very lucky we found your act entertaining, otherwise we'd ban you from applying to you. Best Jeanist said with a flourish. Exclamation point. Izuku signed with shiny eyes. All Might butted in quickly with a thumbs up to them. He's glad you liked it. Then quickly went back to his corner. I mean, I could have gone without the part where you trapped us in an invisible box so I couldn't grow, but that aside, everything else was pretty good, Mount Lady said begrudgingly. Exclamation point. Izuku signed before shaking everyone's hands. Shocking. Everyone, since he was just tied up. Hey, how'd you get untied? Aizawa said. Izuku raises his hands holding nothing, before closing 2 fingers. He made scissors, All Might answers while sipping juice. A grin appears on all the heroes' faces. I like this kid. But don't do anything like that again, got it? A quick thumbs up and Izuku was let go. Go on home, and we hope to see you at UA this year. Niza says. Izuku quickly nodded before walking out of the window of UA, causing all the heroes to scream before they see the boy somehow walk down what they can only guess is a set of invisible stairs. What the hell was that? Miruko yelled. He made a flight of stairs, All Might says as he eats an apple. What did that kid say his quirk was again? Best Jeanist asks, still curious as to how he was able to make stairs out nothing. He didn't, Miruko says, slapping herself for not asking. Well, regardless of what it's called or is, that kid has a weirdly strong quirk that was unbreakable for me and Mount Lady, Kamui Woods says, Mount Lady nodding along with him. I agree, I was running high speed and crashed into his invisible wall and nothing happened to it even after the crash. I'll admit he's got potential, Aizawa grunted. Yes, I believe he will grow to do great things when he comes here, don't you think, All Might? Everyone turned to see All Might replaying their failed apprehension of the mime boy, snickering quietly. Oh, that's gotta hurt. All Might chuckles when he sees Ingenium run into an invisible wall Izuku made while running from the speedster. The hero looked away, rubbing his face. It did. The other heroes looked away just as embarrassed. It was the next day and Izuku had decided to take a break on his street performances, mainly to avoid almost getting arrested by any more pro heroes. Which reminded him he missed out on getting all those pro heroes' signatures. Well, at least I wasn't arrested or banned from applying to UA. That would have SCKD. As he walked to his destination, his mood started to take a turn for the worst as he suddenly remembered how he needed to apologize to Kendo for not picking her up yesterday for their date. Oh crap, I can't believe me getting caught sidetracked me, he said, slapping himself. Imagine that 6 heroes chasing after me and nothing. I'm mad at Suka and I'm reduced to wanting to hide away forever. Sighing, the boy began his walk to his Doom Kendo's dojo to hopefully ask for his girlfriend's forgiveness. Thud. I'm sorry. You got chased after heroes, forgot to call, and then you didn't even think to have the courtesy to call me and let me know you were okay after all things were said and done. Kendo yelled after flipping Izuku on his back again, much to the amusement of the entire dojo. I didn't mean to. Forgive me, Izuku said, running around trying to get away from his girlfriend's wrath and failing. Never. Hee, hell hath no fury like a girlfriend mad at you, Kenta chuckled while watching his daughter kick her mime boyfriend's butt. I'm sorry. Apologize one more time and maybe I'll forgive you, Kendo mumbles with her arms crossed. Really? No. Then honey, are you okay? You don't look that good? Inko asked. Little did Izuku know, his mother knew very well why he looked like a car ran over him repeatedly. Kendo and she had a very long talk while he was out being chased by the heroes, and they discussed how he should be punished, but since she was his mother, she could never punish her little Izuzu. Instead she had Kendo do it. Well, I kinda made Kendo mad yesterday because I forgot about a date, which is totally understandable. I mean, I would be mad too if Kendo forgot about one of our dates for something like her practices or something like that, so she kinda maybe used me as one of her practices dummies, Izuku said, wincing. Oh, my little Izuzu. Do you need anything? She asked. No, I'll be okay by tomorrow. I'm just glad Kendo forgave me after she finally mastered some move she needed to advance to the next belt, Izuku said, smiling as he limped to bed. Inko stifled her laugh, shaking her head at her son. Kendo, you're a lucky girl. A few days later. HUP. Come on, my boy, do you want to be ready for OFA or do you want to be a little mime boy forever? All Might chanted as he jogs alongside him, until he notices Izuku beginning to slow down behind him. Well, I mean, that was my original plan, but you and my girlfriend did manage to change my mind, so I might as well try. Okay, I get it, Mimey McMimey. How about this, do you want to be the best mime hero ever, or do you want to be an average mime hero? All Might said. Izuku looked at All Might, scandalized he would even ask him such a question. You know I want to be the best mime hero ever. Then prove it by cleaning Dagoba Beach before the 10 months is up, my boy. Izuku looked to his mentor with a steely look in his eye. In that moment, All Might saw a fire begin to burn in his successor's body, giving him the motivation to become more motivated in his goal in cleaning up the beach. I will. Excellent, my boy. Just what I wanted to hear from my successor. Yeah. Izuku yelled, scaring a few civilians as they continued their jog. Onwards, mime boy. We've only got 6 more months to make you a fitting vessel for OFA. To being the best mime hero in the world, Izuku yelled. Slowly the pile All Might had assigned Midoriya was dwindling down to nothing, the beach becoming noticeably cleaner over time, while Izuku began to become the vessel needed for OFA. In just 3 months the beach became over halfway clean and his body far more pronounced. It was to the point even Kendo began noticing her mime boyfriend was becoming fitter, not that she was complaining. Stop drooling over your mime, Kendo, and get to training, Kendo's father lectured, bopping the girl on the head as he noticed her watching the boy practice his miming rather. Then do her warm-ups. Shut up, I'm not drooling, she mumbled. Izuku, honey, I have to ask what you are doing? Izuku looked to his mom, confused. Usually she left him to his own devices, knowing he would never intentionally get into any trouble given he was doing illegal street performances. What do you mean, Mom? I mean all the working out, the new dieting, and even the intensive mime training? She asked, then pausing she shook her head. Okay, well, not the mime training, I already know about that, but about the working out and dieting, you never seemed so worried about that before, not that you never did that much before. Izuku looked to his mother weirdly, until he face-bombed, realizing his mistake. I never told her I was going to try and be a hero again. I mean, I mentioned it, but I never actually told her I was going for it. Inko waited patiently for her son to tell her what was going on with him. While she knew her son was a good boy, she also knew something was going on, something new. Aside from him getting a beautiful girlfriend who somehow put up with his eccentric personality, I might get grandbabies after all. He was also disappearing for hours on end, not showing up until late at night, tired and beat up. Inko shook herself free of her thoughts when she felt her son grab her hand, who was smiling up at her. He gets his tallness from his father, she smiled. Mom, I'm sorry I've been worrying you, but I'm not in any trouble if that's what you think, Izuku placates. I know you would never do anything like that, Izuku, but when you disappear for almost an entire day and not for any of your usual street performances, then you have to understand why I worry. Izuku nodded at his mother. Sorry ma, I only realized now that I didn't tell you, but I'm training to attend the hero course at UA. Inko stared blankly at her son, waiting for him to continue. What? Yeah, I had a talk with Kendo and a hero of mine, and they said I could do both while still making people smile. You know, be a hero and a mime, and I just thought, why not give it a try? Inko couldn't help the smile that erupted on her face. While Izuku couldn't decipher the look his mom was giving, Inko was happy her son was going to work on his dream of being a hero again. Although it was up to him, she knew deep down his heroic spirit was still there waiting to be brought out again. Oh, honey, don't apologize, I'm just happy you're working on your dream of being a hero again. Katsuki's going to be so happy, you know. I remember when you two promised to show everyone who the best heroes in the world were going to be, Inko smiled. Izuku rubbed the back of his head, blushing. Yeah, I guess I forgot about that. I'll have to apologize about breaking our promise. So that's why Bakugo is always so mad at me for not wanting to be a hero. I just thought it was an ego thing. Well, now I feel bad. I guess I'll surprise him about me wanting to be a hero later. Inko hugged her son, rubbing his back. You two are best friends, he'll forgive you if you apologize. Yo Mina! Look, it's Deku the Mime. Kirishima yelled, quickly running to where a crowd was forming. Mina, not really caring for the street performer, but always happy to show an interest in whatever her best friend liked, followed him to where the crowd was. Oh man, I can't believe we're actually gonna see the guy live. I've only ever seen him online in videos, Kirishima said excitedly to Mina. Mina looked at Kirishima, his excitement beginning to become contagious. I don't get it, what's so cool about this guy? He's just a mime, right? What's so cool about that? Anyone can pretend to get stuck in a box, she joked. Surprisingly, half the crowd around her gasped at the girl's question as if they were the one she insulted. I guess you must be new to Deku, but this guy is the real deal. Another person speaking, yeah, his performances are crazy. Last week a pro hero wasn't watching where they were going during one of his performances, so dude mimed stairs so the hero wouldn't interrupt him, and the hero just started walking up the stairs as if it was normal. Guy didn't even notice until Deku was finished with his act and he made the stairs disappear, causing him to fall like 50 feet. He laughed, a few others joining him. Whoa, I thought that was just some rumor, Kirishima said in awe. Mina looked at the black and white face-painted boy curiously. Now she wanted to see what he had to showcase if everyone here was so excited to have found one of the boy's shows. Another one chuckled, entering their conversation while watching the boy in front of them pretend to climb a wall. Nah, kid's as real as they come. He's gonna go places. Holy crap, that's amazing. Mina said, watching the boy box in a man until he was on scrunched up, while everyone around them laughed. You're telling us? Although most people think his best show by far is the one where he was able to outrun 6 pro heroes. He only got captured because All Might intervened. Oh yeah, I heard about that, Kirishima said, still watching the show intensely. But I couldn't find any video of it anywhere. That's because from what I heard, a hero with a tech quirk was told to take every video down so the hero's reps didn't take a hit for not being able to take a mime down, he chuckled. Whoa! Mina said as she went back to watching the boy put someone in a box. It was nearing the end of the show that Kirishima quickly dashed towards the mime in hopes of getting a picture of him with Deku. Quickly pushing through the departing crowd with Mina, Kirishima made his way towards his Deku. Seeing Deku begin to pack up nothing in his bag caused Kirishima to quickly yell out for the boy before he could disappear. Hey, Deku sir, hold up. Izuku looked around to see who would call him sir, before silently laughing. Kirishima, seeing this, blushed with Mina laughing on the side. Hey, I'm Kirishima and this is Mina. Izuku waved but did Nothing else. Since he was still in costume, he had no choice to abide by his mime code. Kirishima looked at Mina before she encouraged him to do what he came to do. "Oh right, well I saw your performance and thought it was awesome. I'm a huge fan." Izuku smiled at the black-haired boy, appreciative of his praise, giving him a thumbs up in thanks. While Kirishima and Mina looked at him weirdly, he merely looked at them expectantly as if waiting for what they were originally coming to ask. "Oh, well I was wondering if I could get a picture with you." Right after Kirishima asked that question, Izuku's eyes welled up, enjoying the thought of having his first photo op. It was at this moment Deku knew he was finally getting somewhere. Clenching his fist in his shirt, Deku nodded his head, accepting their request for a picture, exciting both Mina and Kirishima, the latter who couldn't help the giant grin from showing on his face. From there Izuku smiled wider and began rummaging through his backpack looking for something. Once found, he began to set nothing up in front of Mina and Kirishima, confusing the two who were trying to get the camera feature up on their phone. Ignoring their faces, Deku then went back to the two, settling himself in between them before putting a peace sign up and pressing his thumb down on nothing. When all was said and done, the two looked at each other, then at Izuku, even more confused. What just happened?" Mina asked. Kirishima stayed in place, rubbing the back of his head, unsure if Deku was just a JRK and didn't like taking pictures or if he was just that weird. That is until Deku went back to where he set nothing up and handed back both teens a very bad-looking picture of the two with a happy-looking mime in the middle. Shock was written all over the two friends' face, while Deku couldn't help covering his mouth while holding back his laughter. How it's physically impossible for you to actually take a picture of us with nothing. How did you do that?" Mina yelled. "And I want a redo. This is a horrible-looking picture of me." "Really, I like it," Kirishima said, at first a bit skeptical but then enjoying the comedic of the mime. Izuku threw a thumbs up to them until he saw what time it was, which then a sheet "I forgot about kendo" was yelled, and he gathered all his things, including the camera, and began running down the street towards his girlfriend's dojo. "Holy crap, I just spoke to Deku the Mime," Kirishima said, shocked but also excited. "No, you didn't." He just yelled about forgetting his girlfriend, then ran off. Mina said, still miffed about her horrid picture. "Same difference. Besides, we got a picture with him," Kirishima said excitedly. "Really, Kirishima?" Mina deadpanned. "Yeah, seriously, he never takes pictures. It's talked about all over forums." "I'm gonna frame mine," Kirishima said with a smile. Mina grumbled before saying she was going to do the same with hers, then perking up after she thought of something. Kirishima looked at his best friend, wondering why she was laughing. "What up, Mina?" Deku said he was picking up his girlfriend, right? "Yeah." Kirishima found nothing wrong with this and was still unsure where Mina was going, that is until the pink-skinned girl spoke again. "I'm just thinking about how the person Deku is dating probably has a thing for mimes, or maybe she's a mime too," she said, still laughing, Kirishima joining her when he begins to think the same thing. Izuku had just dropped Kendo off at her house after their date. Luckily, after he had explained why he was late, Kendo had forgiven him, citing it was sweet he would take pictures. Unfortunately, since their date had been after he finished a performance, he had taken her to dinner with everyone staring at the two since both were dressed in vastly different attire. Itsuko was, while still a bit casual, better dressed than her boyfriend, who still donned his mime attire and face paint. While any normal girl would have been mad at their boyfriend for picking them up in such a way and taking them out like that, Kendo realized her taste in boys was apparently far from normal and enjoyed having a one-sided conversation with Izuku in black and white face paint, making amusing facial expressions. The end of the night makeout session wasn't too bad either, she thought. Overall, Kendo's night was great, that is until she saw her face and neck in her bathroom mirror. Motherphew. "So it's Suka." "Not a word, Dad." "You can't expect me not to say something when you walk in like that," the dojo master says, trying to hold back his laughter. Any other father would be mad at finding their daughter in such a state, but then again, just imagining how long she was like this is too amusing. Kendo glared at her father half-heartedly before going back to her task of getting rid of the black and white makeup on her neck and lips. So far, the makeup was proving harder to get rid of than last time. "Yes, I can, Dad. At least try not to laugh while you stare me down and lecture me," Itsuka said while she scrubbed her neck, having just finished her face. The dojo master father merely laughed at his daughter sounding so frustrated, while trying to get rid of the makeup, which only emphasized the fact her mime boyfriend had given his only daughter a hickey. You know, if you and that boy are going to do stuff, you could at least do it when he's not wearing his face paint. Unless you like him better when he has that stuff on. Kendo's father cackled. Go away! Kendo yelled while throwing a wet towel at her dad, who walked away from the bathroom still laughing. Fine, but for the record, when you want to cover up hickeys you usually use makeup that's the color of your skin tone, not the total opposite, he yells, laughing even louder. Stupid mime boyfriend, Kendo mumbled, unable to hold back a smile at her dad's joke. At Izuku's place. Izuku was in the middle of washing his face paint off in his bathroom when he began to sneeze. His mother, ever the mother bear, walked in with cold medicine, only to have to put it away when Izuku stated he was alright. Someone was thinking about me, Izuku thought. With that moment over, Izuku went to bed after a successful date and performance. Wow, Kendo, gotta admit, for a mime your boyfriend is pretty ripped, Jean said, nodding appreciatively at Midoriya. Kendo merely nodded, just as surprised as her friend of Izuku's transformation. I mean, he was fit before, but now his outfits are practically embedded on his body. Kendo! What did I say about drooling over Mimey McMurdum over there? Her dad yells, playfully glaring as he points over to Midoriya, who was now shooting finger guns to an embarrassed Kendo. And what did I say about constantly calling me out like that? She hissed. You said to stop, but you're in my domain, kiddo. I do what I want, he said smugly. Kendo stared at her father, who smirked back at her. Unable to think of a comeback, she stomped off to spar with Kaito. The dojo master, feeling a tinge of guilt, reaches out to the younger girl, asking her to come back. Ah, come on Kendo, you know I'm just jock. Midoriya, I swear to God, if you are mimicking me again I will end you, the dojo master threatened when noticing his students who were watching him began to snicker, some outright laughing at him. Izuku quickly pulled out his sign with a sad face, hoping his girlfriend's father would accept that as an apology. Oh no you don't. I'm not falling for that sad face this time. Go and give me 100 push-ups right now, mime boy. Question mark. You're in my dojo, so you follow my rules. You mimic me, you face the consequences, and oh no, don't even think about faking having a performance right now, he lectured, watching as Izuku feigned being in a hurry and checking a planner he pulled out of nowhere. I checked with Kendo and you're free for the day, Kenta said, glaring at the mime who tried sneak out of the dojo when he saw none of his tricks were working. Go on then, give me some push-ups. Relenting to the dojo master's demand, Izuku began his push-ups, deciding he would just count this as part of his training towards UA. On another note, don't mimic Kendo's dad. Just a little more, arg. All Might had just walked up to Dagoba Beach expecting to see his mime protege still lugging around trash, only to see the entire beach clean. To say he was surprised would be an understatement. Well, I'll be d'med, breathed All Might as he watched Mime McMimey scream from atop a large pile of trash. He did the entire beach. As it turns out, not only did Izuku clean the specified area beach within the 6 months he had left, but he had been able to clear the rest of the shore as well, with 2 weeks to spare. Not bad, all things considered. All Might, said Midoriya weakly, he did it. Those were the only words spoken by Izuku before he lost consciousness and fell from the mound, prompting All Might to muscle up and speed forward to catch him. This mime boy, mused All Might, he's special indeed. Not many could not only finish the training in this short of time, but the entire rest of the beach as well. My boy, you've only further proven to me you're going to go far as a mime hero. Hawa. Izuku mumbled, slightly exhausted from his training. All Might, how long have you been here? Not that long, my boy, but might I say you have gone above and beyond my expectations. After righting himself, the mime hero bowed in thanks, none of it possible if not for his help. Thank you, All Might, but it's also thanks to you that I was able to even do this. Nonsense, my boy, all I did was stoke the fire in you. Everything you've accomplished was of your own merit. Izuku practically glowed with happiness. Hearing that from the symbol of peace only furthered Izuku's drive to be the best hero ever. Now then, pleasantries aside, it is with great honor that I say, Midoriya Izuku, you are more than ready to take in my quirk. The smile that erupted on Izuku's face was blinding. One could even say it could be on par to the symbol of peace's smiles before he goes into a fight with a villain. The pro-hero then plucked a strand of his blonde hair from his head and handed it to Izuku. "Eat this." "Excuse me?" exclaimed Izuku in surprise. "To inherit One for All, you must be fed some of my din," said All Might. "I thought this would be easier than spit or blood." Izuku grimaced at the hair follicle he held in his hand. Looking All Might who stared at him, he swallowed nervously and forced himself to eat the strand of hair. "You wouldn't happen to have any water, would you?" "Oh, no I don't," All Might said sheepishly. Rolling his eyes, Izuku waited for something to happen now that he had swallowed the hair. Looking at himself, he saw nothing change. "I don't feel much different." "Give it time to digest," said Toshinori with a chuckle. "Come back tomorrow and we will begin training. We may only have 2 weeks, but we will use them wisely." "Oh, I can't," Izuku said, looking away awkwardly. Why?" All Might asked, incredulous. Izuku looked at his sensei. "You know about my designated mime time, and tomorrow I have another show. In fact, it's for a birthday party," he said, giddy. "My first birthday party," he sighed wistfully. All Might's sweat dropped at the boy in front of him, but accepted this was what he had gotten himself into when he had chosen a mime as his successor. All Might sighed. "All right, fine. Come here on Sunday. No excuses. Once you get here, I will begin to teach you as much as I can about how to use One for All." "Really?" "Yes. Midoriya Izuku, I promise you will become a great mime hero." "So, Izuku, tell me again how you managed to nab this birthday party event," Inko Midoriya questioned, happy for her son. "Well, I kinda overheard." "You were eavesdropping?" she snickered. "No." The mother of One looked at him with an eyebrow. "Okay, maybe, but I swear, it wasn't my intention, Mom." Inko tried, she really did, but failed to hold back the laughter at her son, who was trying to convince her that his eavesdropping was unintentional. "Wasn't your intention to run from 6 pro heroes either, was it?" "Well, no, not exactly. But I mean, I thought you wanted to know how I got the birthday gig." Okay, for a mime, honey, you sure are sassy," she giggled. Izuku wasn't sure whether he should continue his story or pull his hair. However, when he saw his mom look at him with that smile that says, "I'm sorry, go on," he decided to go with the latter. "As I was saying, I overheard this lady telling her daughter how they were having trouble finding some sort of live entertainment for her sibling's birthday party on the walk home through the shopping district, and amazing networking skills I have, I slyly dropped my card as I passed by her." Inko nodded her head, impressed at her son. "While I don't condone the eavesdropping, I must say I am impressed at your execution. But that doesn't tell me how you got the job." "That's the best part. As I was walking away, the woman called me over to tell me about the card I dropped. After she looked it over and saw what it was, she asked me if Deku the Mime was any good, and of course I kinda played him up, then showed him the video of him outrunning the pro heroes, then a few older performances, and then 10 minutes later I have a birthday to attend for a 6 and 10-year-old. Well, bravo Izuku, your first birthday party, and you got it with deceit and lies," Inko chuckled. Izuku stared at his mother in disbelief, until he saw the mirth in her eyes. "Why do I even talk to you?" he sighed. "Because you love me, and you have too," she laughed, walking off. The next day, Izuku had just waved goodbye to his mother after they had finished making sure he had all he needed for the birthday party today. "Good luck, Izuku, don't choke!" Exclamation point. Izuku turned back, jaw agape at his mother, who had already closed their door, cackling. Devil woman. At the Azuis, there was no one Tiu Azui cared about more in the world than her siblings. It's why she was aiming to be a hero. She wanted to protect them with all her being. That's why when a random boy happened to pass by her and her mother dropping a card for some mime while they spoke about needing live entertainment for her siblings, she'll admit she was skeptical about how safe and reliable this guy was. Now as she sees the mime in action, making her siblings smile, eyes wide in awe at the entertainer climbing literally nothing and surpassing even their house's height, she decides that maybe Deku the Great isn't all bad. After the performance, "Wow, you were awesome, Deku the Great," Ribbit Satsuki praised. "Yeah, it was so funny when you caught Tsuyu with your invisible lasso right before she jumped in the pool," Sammy Dare added. Yeah, and then you pulled her back, so she fell on her butt, the younger girl said. I mean it. Wasn't that funny, Ribbit? Tsuyu deadpanned. Satsuki and Samidare received a thumbs up from Deku, with a blinding smile. The two siblings were confused as to why the mime didn't reply to them until their big sis spoke up. He's a mime, you guys, he can't speak, Ribbit. Oh, does that mean you have no friends, Ribbit? Satsuki asked innocently. Yeah, it's gotta be hard to interact with other people, right, Ribbit? Samidare said. Deku shook his head, giving other thumbs up and a wink. The two children looking even more confused at the mime, unlike their eldest who replied to the mime. It's actually pretty easy understanding your signing once people get to know you. I find that hard to believe, but I guess you would know better than us since you're the mime, Ribbit. Deku chuckled at the girl who had just been able to understand him but didn't believe his signing. Nodding his head in agreement with the girl's words, he decided he began to overstay his welcome and bowed to the family who was nice enough to hire him for their party. Just before departing though, he made sure to double-check they had his card and left excited for what would come of his training with All Might tomorrow. Exclamation point. Ready, mime boy. Exclamation point. I can't hear you. Exclamation point. I said I can't hear you. Exclamation point. All Might smacked his face as he stared at the boy in front of him waving a sign with an exclamation point. No, seriously, my boy, I can't hear you, you're speaking in mime. Izuku looked at the sign in his hand before blushing profusely. Sorry, All Might, I'm just really excited to find out what I can do with One for All. All Might chuckled. As am I. Now then, when using One for All you just sort of feel it. Once that happens there'll be a pressure in your stomach, and when it gets to that point you just let it loose with a smash. Izuku stared at his mentor dumbfounded at how he thought that was helpful advice in activating his quirk. When he realized he was getting no other advice, Izuku rolled his shoulders, taking a deep breath, and followed All Might's advice. Squatting down, Izuku threw his arms out to his sides and began to yell. Ah! Young Midoriya, what are you doing? All Might said, behind a smile. Izuku frowned, shifting his stance. Well, you said I had to feel it. I thought maybe I should take a page out of Dragon Ball and go Super Saiyan like Goku. All Might liked to think he had achieved a good poker face over the years of his hero career, but hearing those words from his successors and he couldn't help but fall on his but laughing. Haha, what an analogy, my boy, I love it. All Might roared. I know, right, but I don't think it's working. Maybe I need to try something else. All Might stared at the boy still in his Super Saiyan pose. No, I don't think so. Why don't you try again but imagine yourself like Vegeta? Will that make a difference? Probably not, but Vegeta's kinda cooler in my opinion. All Might said. Alright, I'll do it. Izuku said, getting back in his Saiyan stance. Ah. All Might's eyes widened as he saw the black and white lightning arcs coming off his protege. He couldn't believe that worked. Well, I'll be dmed, I knew Vegeta was cooler. All Might shouted. It's over 9,000. Izuku fell to his knees sweating, smiling at his mentor. Cool, it worked. Indeed, it did, now we just have to see how you can utilize it with your quirk. Izuku rubbed his chin in thought. While he assumed he might be using One for All in the same way as All Might, he immediately went and rid himself of that thought, after realizing that given the nature of his quirk it would look suspicious if suddenly he started throwing in punches with his makeshift objects. Well, not too far-fetched, I guess I could just say mime's some sort of strength enhancer and that's how it gave a boost. I'll put it on the back burner for now. It wasn't until he snapped his fingers that Izuku figured out how he could apply his quirk with One for All. I've got it, All Might. Oh, well, don't keep me waiting, what is it? All Might smiled. First, I'll need to trap you in a box, but a regular one without One for All applied. All Might, wondering where this was heading, consented to the boy boxing him up. All right, now try to break out of it. It took a minute, to All Might's surprise, but after using a weak Detroit smash, he was able to break out. My boy, that was quite the box you had me in. You'd be a formidable foe even without One for All. Izuku blushed at the praise. He never really saw his quirk as something for hero work, but hearing from All Might such praise was a big ego boost. Thanks. That really means a lot. And looked over to All Might smiling. Well, now what? All Might inquired. Izuku, remembering what they were here for, blushed before getting back into position. Right, this time when I box you in, I'll infuse one for all along with my quirk, then when I give the signal, punch it. Izuku explained. Got it. Izuku began summoning one for all while watching a black and white lightning arc surround his body. Sweat dropping as he wondered how he would begin to explain that to his friends. Well, that seems like a problem for future me, he chuckled. Walking towards All Might, he began miming another giant box, boxing in All Might. All right, give it your best shot. Stepping away from his creation, All Might smiled at his protege, preparing a weak Detroit smash, expecting the same result. As he walked forward to leave his confined quarters, he immediately fell back, his punch having done nothing to the mime boy's box. My boy! He slightly gasped. Izuku stared back at All Might. No pushback was felt from the punch. Harder this time, All Might. Izuku said he needed to know how much his mime creations could take. All Might nodded, interested in finding out how much power the mime boy's creations could take from him. California smash. He put a quarter power into this punch, expecting better results, face dropping when he realized he was still stuck in the invisible box. A smile slowly crept onto Izuku's face as he saw how much stronger his mime creation was. He stared into All Might's eyes in awe at what One for All had done to his, apparently already powerful quirk. He felt the pushback that time, and a slight sheen of sweat appeared on his forehead from concentrating on the form, but otherwise there was no sign of his box breaking. Again, All Might. Are you sure? All Might, you haven't even cracked my box, I can tell. Please. He pleaded. Seeing his successor's determination to master One for All put a smile on his face, and upping the power to at least half of One for All Might prepared himself for another smash. Moving his body towards the box, All Might shouts at the top of his lungs. New Hampshire smash. Boom! Already prepared for the blast with the wall covering him, Izuku smiled at finally knowing how much power his creations could take. How much power was that, All Might? Izuku smiled. Almost half my power, young Midoriya. All Might grinned at Izuku. My boy, you are going to be one formidable foe at you. Izuku grinned at his mentor's words before agreeing on a few more tests to see how strong his quirk was with One for All. After the tests, both decided to take a break, having had enough with testing the mime's quirk. Or rather, All Might was having had enough. Despite having such a unique quirk, All Might realized that it was not one to be underestimated, which he knew many would just because of the boy's unique name for it. Poor saps are going to be demolished in the hero course. After feeling like the break was long enough, Izuku decided to toss a lasso on All Might, surprising the hero. All Might was unsure what the boy was doing and began squirming, trying to shake the boy off, or at least break off the rope. Izuku, for his part, was trying his best to hang onto the rope that was keeping All Might tied together, which was not as easy as he thought it would be. Young Midoriya, what exactly are you doing? Please let me go. Izuku shook his head, still holding on tightly. I'm sorry, All Might, but I need to know how strong my lasso is. All Might stopped his struggling and stared at Izuku, sweat dropping. Izuku, why did you not just tell me that? I would have happily just let you capture me instead of going through all this trouble. Izuku sheepishly rubbed his head, shrugging. I don't know. I thought it'd be funnier to do it like this. Besides, I wouldn't get as accurate results if you weren't actually trying to escape while I lassoed you. Also, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much were you actually struggling to get out of the rope? All Might chucked at his successor's thinking, unable to get mad at the kid. Letting it slide, he decided to think over his question before answer. Well, this rope is pretty tight, so I'd say about, and I don't want to hurt you, so I'm using half power to try and break through, but it seems like no matter how much strength I use, I can't. But then again, I'm not struggling too much because I know you're not an actual threat. So given all the data, I'd say my miming quirk has the ability to possibly stop someone with strength not exactly on par but with about half your power. Would that be correct, All Might? All Might thought about all they did, eyes going wide. Yes, I would have to agree with that assessment, my boy, possibly even higher than that though if you continue to improve on the input of One for All. Izuku's jaw dropped at All Might's words, surprised that he could maybe even go head-to-head with someone on par with All Might. All of this seemed like a dream, but after pinching himself and seeing All Might's smiling face, Izuku decided that no, all of this was real, and he was going to make the best of it and be the greatest mime hero ever. Izuku was exiting school late, having changed into his mime attire for a late performance when he ran into his old friend. "So, you finally did a birthday party, Deku?" Question mark. Izuku raised a sign up, confused on how he found out. While he was gaining a following, he didn't alert Bakugo of his miming activities. He doubted Bakugo also kept up on his tags or the forums about his career either. "I overheard your mom telling the hag during their evening brunch. Congrats." Izuku raised a thumbs up to the boy in front of him, ignoring the eye roll. Can't you talk? You're not even in Cos Dash." "Oh yeah you are. What, got another show to go to or something?" Izuku nodded his head before walking away, the boy deciding he wasn't finishing talking to him. He didn't know why, but he felt he needed to still talk to him. A stupid mime. "Listen Deku, I overheard a few things from your mom, and I just want to know if it's true, so will you please stop for 5 seconds? Bakugo grunted. Izuku paused his walking, wondering what Bakugo could want to talk to him about, until his eyes widened, mouth dropping. The talk he had with his mom last week about Bakugo, the apology, and the promise, he had forgotten all about it with his training and the birthday party. Izuku practically slapped his face, realizing how screwed he was. There was no way his mom didn't mention to Auntie Mitsuki that he was aiming to be a hero again. Oh man, this is not gonna be good. Bakugo took a deep breath, grinding his teeth. "I heard your mom tell the old hag you were aiming for the hero course now. That true?" Izuku nodded, wincing at the boy's blank face. "You really only joining because your girlfriend and some hero said you could make more people smile?" Izuku nodded again. Bakugo nodded, scowling. "So you're not joining for any other reason?" Izuku shook his head, a smirk appearing on his face. He realized he needed to make things right. Right now was the time to tell Bakugo he remembered their promise. Clasping Bakugo's hand, he pointed to the other boy, then himself, and pumped his fist. After releasing, he pulled it. Sign out with the number 1 on it. To anyone else it would seem like Izuku just made a bunch of random gestures, but to Bakugo, his rival, enemy, best friend, he knew exactly what Izuku was saying. The same exact glint, which was in Midoriya's eye, appeared in his eye, as well as a matching smirk. Clasping the mime boy's hand, he nodded back. "Hell yeah, we're gonna be the number 1 heroes, ya stupid Deku. You better train your butt if you want to stand by my side, got it? You din mime. You gotta make up for lost time." Izuku smiled, nodding his head, then pointed in the other direction, waving his hand, a clear invitation for Bakugo to come with him to his performance. Rolling his eyes, the blonde followed Izuku reluctantly, although secretly he was interested in seeing one of his frenemies show for the first time. Bakugo was in complete awe as he watched the DMN nerd perform his heart out in front of the huge crowd. He never knew he could do all these things, given all he ever did was trap him in a box or hog-tie him. "Nerd's actually pretty good," he mutters. "Yeah, Deku's pretty manly, right?" A black-haired boy yells to his right, eyes shining as he stares at the boy break dancing above them on nothing. "Get the hell away from me, extra." The boy simply smiles at him, still talking about how awesome Deku is, ignoring Bakugo's eye roll. "I got a picture with him a couple months ago with my best friend, it was awesome," the boy says. Bakugo is still staring at the extra beside him, confused as to who the hell this is, before grunting. "That's 'cause Deku's not a shitty extra like everyone else." The boy stared wide-eyed at Bakugo before grinning. "I know, right? Oh, I almost forgot, I'm Kirishima. I don't care, bland hair." After his performance, Izuku decided it was time Bakugo met his girlfriend. Bakugo almost choked when he found out that his girlfriend was real. "You found a girl to date you even though you're a fame mime." Izuku shot him a thumbs up and smirked. Bakugo scoffed at the green-haired boy. "Oh, shut up, this girl's probably not even hot. Probably has a weird mime F." Bakugo cackled, before hitting an invisible wall. "F you, Deku." As the two walked up to the coffee shop where Kendo said she would meet them, excited to meet someone close to her boyfriend, Bakugo immediately tripped on his own feet and began to choke on his own spit. Deku's girlfriend was hotter than he expected, and way out of his nerdy league. Hi, I'm Kendo Itsuka." Kendo said, a bit nervous now that she sees the angry-looking boy in person. Holy shit, you're hot! Bakugo yelled, as he pointed to Kendo, then looking to Izuku still in his mime attire. Izuku, unfazed by his words, was smirking, shooting finger guns at Kendo and Bakugo. Kendo for her part tried. She really did try to stop the red blush appearing on her face, but knew by the heat she felt on her face and the chuckles she heard around her that she failed. Izuku apparently didn't care that Bakugo thought that of Kendo, because all he did was shoot a thumbs up and wink at Kendo. I don't understand why, how? This nerd, he continued to yell, pointing at the mime boy. Do you have some sort of mime FTSH? Is that how the nerd scored? You're like a 9 in him. Look at him, he's not even on the scale. So how? Kendo at this point tried to hide behind her jacket but forgot she didn't bring one, given it was the middle of spring, and with the attention the loud blonde was bringing, knew she would never be able to come back to this coffee shop again. Tell me, nerd, how did you bag a hottie like her? Izuku smiled before lassoing Kendo and tossing an arm around her and shot a wink, embarrassing her further in the coffee shop. By now most occupants brought their phones out and were filming the debacle, laughing at the teens, finding it hilarious. You're telling me you just lassoed this chick while miming a few gestures and that's how you got her? Izuku shook his head, looking for something in his pocket and pulling it out, then reenacted exactly what he did to win Kendo over. He then gave the card to the Bakugo, who gawked at the mime. You gave her this lame card and she actually called you. Izuku smiled at the blonde, nodding, pulling his blushing girlfriend even closer to him. Bakugo was speechless. He couldn't believe the nerd got a girlfriend before him, and a hot one at that. She must have a mime FTSH. Please stop, you guys, they're watching, Kendo begged. Bakugo and Midoriya looked around them, finally noticing everyone filming their conversation, laughing. Grunting, Bakugo got up and paid for their drinks while flipping off the phones and dragging his friends out. Come on, losers, we're leaving this place. Thank God, Kendo whispered. Deciding they wanted to just relax after such an embarrassing moment, they headed to Dagoba Beach, comparing quirks along the way. Once they were at their destination, they found a spot to sit at and finally got to getting to know each other. Bakugo Katsuki. Ha! Bakugo Katsuki. I'm the nerd's best friend. Bakugo grunted. Izuku shooting a thumbs up. Oh, I'm Kendo Itsuka, his girlfriend. Yeah, I got that, man hands. Just don't know how. He mumbled. Kendo rolled her eyes at the nickname he dubbed her after finding out her quirk revolved around enlarging her fists. So you got man hands? Haha. Hey Deku, imagine the hand Joe and watch it, ya demon Pomeranian, Kendo grunted, after judo flipping the boy onto his back. So, you talked this demon mime into actually applying himself instead of just doing some lame, but fine, okay, they aren't that bad. Bakugo relented when he saw Izuku glare at him. I just mean you actually convinced him to actually use his quirk for hero work, instead of just miming. Bakugo said. Kendo looked at the blonde boy, who looked like an angry Pomeranian at first sight. Now that she's heard him talk, he seems kinda okay, aside from calling her an extra. Nodding her head, she reveals. She was. Well, Izuku said a hero also had a part in that. Ignoring the second part, Bakugo begins to grumble. Never listen to me but get a pretty girl with a mime FTSH and all of a sudden he wants to start saving people. Tsich, whatever, so long as he wants to be a hero I'm fine with it, I guess. Hey, I already said I do not have a mime FTH. Kendo yelled. Dimminute Deku, let me go, I swear to God I will end you. Kendo turned back to her boyfriend and his friend only to see the boy on the ground, his arms and leg bound together. She couldn't help but giggle at the sight of the angry blonde wiggling on the floor while Izuku pointed to Kendo and pulled a sign with a peace sign. I don't need to make peace with her. I just said she had a mime FTSH, nerd. Man hands, tell your boyfriend to let me go. Kendo pouts at the blonde's insult, looking away and crossing her arms, allowing her boyfriend to continue to mess with Bakugo. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Walking off, Kendo ventured off to get another drink while Bakugo shouted curse words at the orange-haired girl. Glancing at her hands, she puts them in her pants before walking off. I'll get you, FH girl. At Kendo's dojo. Itsuka, had I known you had a mime I'm not sure I would have let you go out with Deku. Kenta said with a small smile on his face. Fetishes usually lead to some weird stuff, that I don't think I want my daughter to be a dad. Don't worry, Kendo, based on online polls you two make a cute couple. You, being the hot one, balance out him, the nerdy one. Hikari joked, while the dojo master cackled at the comment. Actually, there are forums debating who could be the hotter one based off Deku's physique and smooth moves. Many believe that title belongs to you, Kendo, while some are calling Deku nerdy and hot. A twofer which is rare for some relationships. Jean added, enjoying her friend's blushing face. Kendo slapped her face, embarrassed that her father and her friends had seen the video which was filmed yesterday and now were making jokes at her expense. I can't believe people actually put that up. Shimmed. Oh yeah, but don't worry, people are rooting for you two to become a couple's hero duo when you become heroes. Her father soothed, not that it really helped. Thanks, Dad, I guess. Happy to help. Young Midoriya, your girlfriend is quite pretty, however did you land such a girl? All Might says after seeing the video online. Beats me. I didn't think she would call me when I gave her my number, but she did. I thought she was just gonna toss my card after I hit on her. Well, you are quite lucky to find a girl who appreciates the arts and is also going to be a hero, All Might said, chuckling. Actually, can I be honest with you, All Might? Izuku asked while looking around for anyone watching them. All Might turned serious before nodding his head. Yes, of course, my boy, I'd like to think we've grown close enough for you to be able to tell me anything on your mind. Izuku grins, nodding. Yeah, we have. Then chuckling he turns back to All Might and jokingly speaks, I'm not gonna lie, I think Itsuka really does have a mime fetish. My boy, you kill me. All Might yells before deflating. Day of the entrance exam. Before Izuku, Bakugo and Kendo knew it, the entrance exam was upon them. Despite all his training, Izuku was still nervous and was worried he might not make it in, disappointing All Might and proving that he wasn't a worthy successor. Don't worry, Izuku, just mime your heart out and you'll be training to be a hero right beside Katsuki and your pretty girlfriend. I still have no idea how you managed to get a girl like Kendo to be your girlfriend, but so long as I get grandbabies out of this relationship, then I don't really care if the rumors of Kendo having a mime FTSH are true or not. With words of encouragement from his mother, Izuku went from a sorrowful mime to happy. Thanks, Mom. I'll do my best. Oh, and don't forget your special mime tracksuit. She yelled at Izuku, who gave a thumbs up, showing he already had it packed. Bakugo was confident he was gonna kick everyone's butt today. There was no one with a quirk who could match his, well, maybe one, but that nerd never took him seriously, so he put him on the back burner. Today was about him and showing all those other extras who was boss. Deku, you better FNG get in today. Katsuki, get your butt down here, you're gonna be late for the exam. Stop yelling, hag, I'm already up. I'll stop yelling when you get down here. I'm coming. Itsuka wasn't afraid to say she was nervous about today. Her whole future was riding on whether she passed today, and well, despite having a fitting quirk for combat, she still wasn't sure if it was enough. Don't worry, Kendo, you and Mime are gonna get into you, it ain't no problem, I believe in you. Kendo's dad said while wearing a number 1 Kendo and Mime fan shirt. Yeah, and so do we, Kendo, a few of the other students yelled, wearing replica shirts. Where did you guys even get those? Itsuka yelled, only to realize she was being ignored. Ignoring their friend, they began to chant for her in hopes to boost her spirits, instead only embarrassing her, their real objective. Why me? She whispered. Kendo. Mime. Kendo. Mime. Itsuka glared at her father, knowing he had a hand in this, but also knew she would be unable to stop them. Izuku's not even here, so why are you cheering for him? He's here in spirit, Hikari responded while holding a picture of Midoriya in his mime outfit, before chanting again. Aha, I hate you all. Kendo yelled before stomping out of the dojo on her way to meet up with Izuku and Bakugo so they could head to the entrance exam. Bye, love you too. Kenta yelled to his daughter. You're all evil for actually going through with the chant and wearing the shirts, enjoy your free day. The dojo master said, still laughing at his daughter's dramatic exit and his students. Chant. Yurare. Izuku, Bakugo and Kendo had just reached the train station, their meeting point, and were stepping on board to go to UA for the entrance exam. Sup man hands, Bakugo grunted towards Kendo. Pomeranian, Kendo mumbled, having become used to the explosive boy nickname for her. Question mark. Izuku pouted at not being greeted by his two favorite people. Oh, sorry Deku, what's up? Bakugo said, feeling slightly bad, although he'd never admit it, for forgetting to greet Deku. Izuku shot him a thumb up and grinned. Cool. You guys got everything you need? Kendo asked happily, showing her gym bag. The F kinda question is that man hands? Course I do. You should worry about if your stupid mime boyfriend does. I wouldn't be surprised if Deku forgot something because he was practicing some dumb trick. Bakugo yelled. Kendo rolled her eyes at the explosive user, not disagreeing with him because he had a point. So, turning to her boyfriend, who was blushing at Bakugo's accurate assumption, he wasn't going to admit he needed his mom's help packing his bag this morning because he had stayed up practicing a routine. She asked him if he had everything for the exam. Izuku, you remembered everything right? The boy gasped, looking away insulted. Moving a sign up with a frowning face, the boy crosses his arms and walks ahead. Oh no, don't even sheet head, you know I'm right. I bet you had your mom pack for you. Bakugo shouts. And another thing, why the hell aren't you speaking? You're not in costume? Sorry guys, when I get nervous, I tend to go in my mode. Izuku chuckled. Oh, and Bakugo was right, my mom did help me pack everything. You can still check though, he admitted sheepishly as he handed his bag over to Kendo so she could check he had everything. Taking him up on his offer, she decides to double-check his bag, holding back her laughter at the sight of his tracksuit. Where does one even purchase that? What's so funny? Bakugo grunted. Kendo, still holding back her laughter, hands the bag over to Bakugo, who doesn't even try holding back his laughter. Where the F did you find a mime tracksuit, you nerd? Bakugo cackled, turning to Kendo, who began to grimace knowing he was going to say something regarding her choice in boys. You sure know how to pick him extra. Why did I think it was a good idea showing you his bag? She sighed, slapping her face. Huh, bet you like Izuku in his mime costume. Shut it, Pomeranian, she growled, not denying his claim. Finally reaching you. A's front gates, the three friends went to enter the auditorium. Neither of them showing any sign of nervousness, rather excitement rushing through their blood. Once they entered, they went their separate ways, realizing they were being organized by schools. See ya extra, the FNG pass got it. I'm not letting Deku quit heroing because the chick he liked couldn't get in. Kendo stood speechless at Bakugo's good luck speech. The boy was never the sentimental type. But she was pretty sure he had kinda, sorta wished her luck. Snapping out of it, she went to wish Izuku good luck. Good luck, babe, she said, smiling, giving him a chaste kiss on the lips for good luck. Thanks. I'll do my best to get in. I mean, even if I don't, I'll be fine since I can just go for the general course then transfer, but I want to be with you so I'll do my best to pass. He smiles, waving at her while walking to his seat, blushing from the kiss he had just received. How is he so smooth without even trying? Kendo groans while walking to her seat. He's a mime, for Christ's sake. After the written portion had ended, our two examinees were even more excited for the upcoming part of the exam. The third just wanted to get things over with and head over to Tokyo's shopping district for his 5 o'clock street performance. Bakugo had a vicious glint in his eye, raring to go against whatever the practical was, while Kendo was excited to show off her quirk and all the work she's done to get where she is. Izuku just wanted to move on and focus on his street performance. Izuku had just zoned back in when the next pro hero came in to begin taking about the practical portion of his exam. What's up, UA candidates? Thanks for tuning in to me, your school DJ. Come on and let me hear you. Present Mike took the stage with an amount of flash and style that could be expected from the DJ hero. Expecting a shout of cheer from the crowd, but coming up with nothing. Instead, he saw a weird green-haired kid holding a sign with an exclamation point on it. Exclamation point. Sheethead, I swear to God, put that sign down. Bakugo hissed. Izuku looked to his best friend confused, then looking to himself he realized he had pulled out a sign in reply to present Mick's request for a cheer. Sorry. The voice hero shifted a bit, confused at the kid but liking it nonetheless. You're weird, kid, but I like it. I'm rooting for ya. Now let's talk about this practical exam, yeah? He turned his ear to the crowd. Are you ready? Izuku, excited for the hero in front of him, was not aware he had pulled another sign out, this time with a thumbs up. Deku, I swear to God. The silence was deafening. But still present Mike was not deterred by this. Seeing the weird kid pulling out signs in reply to his screaming was laugh-worthy. Can't wait to tell Shota about this. Getting over the weird kid's action, Present Mike continued, like your application said, today, you rocking boys and girls will be out there conducting 10-minute mock battles in different centers cities against robots. The large screen behind the hero shifted from the UA logo to a map of campus with different battle centers listed. Ready yourself for some action, because after this rocking speech, you'll head to your specified battle centers. Sound good? Izuku and Katsuki examined the cards that sat on their desk in front of them. Okay? Present Mike called out to more silence. I get it, Katsuki commented as he glanced at Izuku's cards. They're splitting us up so we can't work with any of our friends. I guess it's smart given we'd kick everybody's butt together. Heck yeah, we would. Izuku smirked. Man-hands won't do so bad herself either. Bakugo joked. Yeah, she's gonna do great. Izuku smiled, reading their cards to see where their battle center was. On Katsuki's card he read, Battle Center, written on it, whilst his said, B. Our examinee numbers are listed one after another, but we all have different battle centers. Aizu started explaining to Katsuki how he thought the exam was meant to be immediately. So, I guess if we're fighting robots, the smallest ones would be 1-pointer. The bigger ones are 2-pointers and 3-pointers. Bakugo smirked, understanding where his friend was going with the reference. Exactly. But who knows what the passing score is, he sighed. I'll have to actually try. Of course, you'll have to try, Baka. Get your head on straight and remember that so you pass. Izuku waved him off and continued speaking. Yeah, you know I will. And you too. You've done nothing but talk this whole time and are distracting the other students. Please show some respect. Izuku and Bakugo both looked at the blue-haired boy who they had already determined was most likely an elitist. Most of the auditorium had decided to start laughing at the two, only to stop when they see the boy freeze up and begin to stutter. What is happening? Why can't I move? Look here, elitist prick, no one noticed us talking until you decided to point it out. And another thing, you were the one who decided to be a loud D and interrupt the proctor before he could even answer your question. Just because you were born privileged doesn't mean you can use that to look down on everyone else. Bakugo lectured. Then looking to Izuku, who had lassoed the boy, nodded, Release elitist. The auditorium rang silent, until Present Mike decided to finish his instructions. Right, well, to answer your question, examinee number 7111. The fourth robot you will fight will be more of a gimmick to avoid, an arena trap if you will. The best advice for this is to just run away. Now everybody do your best, plus ultra. With that, everyone loaded onto the buses towards their designated fake city. Don't fail, sheethead, Bakugo smirked. As if I would. Midoriya chuckled. They parted ways towards the locker rooms to change into the attire they would be wearing in the mock cities. Once finished, everyone headed toward their designated buses. Izuku's outfit garnering plenty of weird looks and laughter. Once they got off the bus at testing site B, Izuku looked around, checking out his competition. He began chuckling at the fact none of them looked very impressive and that maybe this exam wouldn't be so hard to pass after all. Oh god, Kaken is really rubbing off on me. A few minutes into scoping out the other competitors, he felt a hand land on his shoulder. Once he saw who was clutching his shoulder, Izuku couldn't help but roll his eyes at the stuck-up blue-haired boy. Wondering what he could have done this time to make him the target of his lecture, he finally tuned into the boy's speech, finally acknowledging that the boy was speaking. And another thing, why are you dressed in that weird mime attire? Do you think this is a joke? Do you plan on distracting others with your face paint? Izuku glared at the boy and those pointing and laughing at him. He figured that they all saw him as a joke, a weak link who was probably the least of their worries. Izuku couldn't help but smirk at how wrong they were. I was gonna go easy on you all and go for the bare minimum to pass, but as Kaken would say, these extras. Start. After hearing the loud hero's voice, Izuku quickly activated One for All and immediately dashed into the city to get away from the unlucky saps, silently laughing at the hero screaming to the examinees, "What are you doing? There are no countdowns in real life. Follow the weird mime kid's example and run." Realizing they were already behind, they went to start running only to run into an invisible barrier which blocked them from entering into the city. What the hell? Is this part of the exam? Why can't we get past this? If it is, how'd that weird kid get past? I thought I told you guys to start already. What's going on? Present Mike yelled. Sir, we cannot get past the invisible barrier set forth in front of us by Yui. Ida yelled. Invisible barrier? Present Mike mouthed confused. Izuku continued to run, moving a sign behind him with a peace sign. The only one to notice him was a girl with a bob haircut, frowning. Back in the judge's lounge. Haha, that jerk. All those in the lounge watched City be confused. None of them could comprehend what was happening now. From what they could see, the entire group of examinees, bar one, were unable to enter the city. What just happened? Why isn't City B starting? Snipe asked. Present Mike said there's some sort of invisible wall stopping them from starting, 13 answered. Did you just say invisible wall? Aizawa growled. Yeah, why? 13 said. So, the kid actually came. Swear to God if he passes, I'm gonna make his life hell in my class. Aizawa grumbled, confusing everyone in the room. Wanna share with the class what you're talking about? Power Loader drawled. That kid there in the middle of the city that's practically destroying every robot with ease is the one who I had trouble catching a few months ago. No sheet, that's the mime kid. Midnight yelled. Yeah, it is. Never got his name though. It says here his name is Izuku Midoriya. Quirked out. What the hell? It says here he calls it mime, gives him the ability to create any construct he can imagine. Cementos explained. Every person in the room looked at the lone student in the mock city in awe as he destroyed another robot with an invisible construct and continued his way. Happily. Nizu, what the hell are we going to do? That kid is in there destroying every single robot while those other examinees are stuck out there? 13 yelled. That's gotta be cheating? Midnight said, incredulous. Nizu stared at the screen in awe. Without turning back at the others, he shook his head in disbelief. This is by far the craziest loophole I've ever encountered, Nizu grinned crazily. Snapping out of his trance, he looked to the other teachers. He's not doing anything wrong, Percy, but how is he able to maintain that wall and still fight? Young Midoriya, you little j. All Might cackled. He didn't care that they were all looking at him while he laughed at the others' misfortune. He expected this, in fact. The kid walked into the examination dressed as a mime. Of course everyone was going to count him out, and what was he going to do? Make them pay for it. Well, as much as I hate to admit it, he's got a lot of potential, but is selfish at the same time. I want him in my class, Nizu, Aizawa sighed. Very well. You're the only one who could probably handle him anyways. Nizu answered. Izuku had entered the city alone when he saw 3 two-pointer robots surrounding him. They weren't as big as he imagined they would be, nor did they look that strong. When he saw it about to blast him, he activated OFA and with his quirk mimed a wall. Blocking the blast, he put his archery skills to use and shot 3 arrows at each robot, destroying them in no time. 6 points. Not enough to be with Kendo and Bakugu. Look, I just don't get it. Like, he's a mime, so how is he actually able to make stuff and destroy the robots? Snipe yelled. Look over there, he literally just made 2 3-pointer robots blow up with some type of, I guess, cannon. I mean, come on. There must be a limit to what the hell the mime kid can do. Or he's making his quirk up. The teachers looked to each other, then back to the screen. Do we even need to use the 0-pointer? They all sweat dropped. Doubtful, Cementos said. Very well, but what about the rest of the examinees? Power Loader asked. Nizu was still frowning at the video displaying City B, face shifting to resignation when he saw all the examinees still struggling to get through the invisible wall and into the mock city. Looking into the city, he saw the lone examinee sitting among a building watching as the rest of the examinees tried to break through his wall. He shrugged. We'll have to make another examination for the poor souls who underestimated such a strong opponent. Are you serious? You're gonna pass him even after doing such a dirty tactic. Midnight. Nizu looking her dead in the eye. Indeed. Look at the screen. Midoriya has destroyed every single robot in the city, and yet he still refuses to let the other examinees in. My guess is to punish them for underestimating him, laughing at him. I don't even think he really cares that he's probably crushed all those out there dreams of being a hero. Then why let him come here? They all yelled. Because I want to learn more about him. He was able to outrun 6 pro heroes, hold back over 100 examinees while still fight off robots attacking him. This boy is more than meets the eye. Nizu said, staring at the boy who finally began walking down the building to leave the exam site. If only you knew. All Might thought. Izuku just lassoed a 3-pointer and was currently swinging it around, crashing it into several other 1- and 2-pointers. He was sweating heavily by now and knew his face paint was coming down his face. He knew he looked ridiculous, but if he was being honest, he didn't really care. Right now, all he cared about was making it into Yute for Kendo and Kaken. Good thing I don't have any competition. Back with the rest of the examinees. Has anyone had any luck with getting through? No. I don't get it. No one mentioned there being a barrier, being an obstacle for the exam. Another yelled, panicking. How the hell did that weird kid get through and we didn't? A girl with long earlobes yelled. The examinees all looked at each other after hearing the girl's words. It finally dawned on them what was really happening to them. This wasn't the work of Yui. No, this had to be that green-haired kid they all laughed at who bolted at present. Mick's voice. It was that kid who did it. He's the one trapping us here. Another yelled, angered. How dare he sully the examination with his cheating? He should be disqualified for such dirty tactics. I demand he be stopped. The boy with glasses yells to the pro hero who had come down and check out the invisible wall himself. Present Mike looked back to the blue-haired kid, recognizing him as the one who scolded the green-haired kid and laughed at his outfit. Everything clicking together, causing Present Mike to chuckle. This is payback for laughing at his costume, probably. Well, alright then. Sorry kid, I already talked to Nizu, and Green Bean didn't technically do anything wrong. You guys on your own for now, so I recommend you keep on trying to break down this wall. You do only have 2 minutes left of the exam, and that kid is a powerhouse, he said, walking off. All the kids looked at the pro hero in horror. Their dream of training to be pro heroes broken in a matter of seconds, and the pros weren't even trying to do anything about it. But this is so unfair, he shouldn't be able to do that, a round-faced girl cried. A tired-looking man deciding enough was enough decided to reveal himself and speak to the downtrodden individuals. Life isn't fair when you're a pro hero, same goes for training to be one. Let this be a life lesson. Never underestimate your opponent, no matter how ridiculous they look. Those words hit everyone like a ton of bricks. Thinking back to laughing at the boy who was dressed weird and underestimating how powerful he was. Pausing his steps, the man looked back. Luckily for you, the judges felt pity for. How brutal you were being destroyed by a kid in a mime outfit and decided to make a second exam for you. This was met with cheers, but soon stopped when they saw the man's creepy grin. Don't cheer now, this will be even harder than fighting robots. See you in an hour. After the exam. Ah, Deku, you effing nerd, only you would keep everyone from taking the exam. Izuku had wiped his paint face off, no longer dressed as a mime, laughing alongside Bakugo and Kendo, who couldn't help but laugh alongside them as well. Kaken, they laughed at my mime suit, and no one laughs at my mime suit. Bakugo and Kendo both looked at Izuku, surprised at how serious he had become when speaking about his outfit. His sweet and laughable demeanor turned slightly mad, was a dizzy 180 from what they usually saw form their best friend. Oh sir. Haha, just kidding, nah, I just wanted to show them who was boss, Kaken. They called me weak, and that blue-haired kid kept yelling at me, so I figured show him who's boss, right guys? Bakugo and Kendo were slack-jawed at Izuku. His demeanor changing again, giving them whiplash. Babe, can you maybe chill it with the 180 emotion changes? Kinda feel like you're pmzing. Kendo joked. Izuku laughed at his girlfriend's words. Sorry. I'll stop. So how do you think you did? Both friends smiled smugly before answering. Awesome, of course. turning to each other and glaring. He asked me Pomeranian man hands. Stop copying me. You stop. Both walked off for a break, 5 minutes later coming back with food for Izuku as an apology for leaving him alone and not realizing it. Sorry babe Deku. Both looking away guiltily, while handing their best friend an ice cream and soda as an apology. Izuku laughed at their antics, smiling, unable to get mad at them when they both acted the same. They're too alike sometimes. Izuku was in the middle of a performance at the Tokyo shopping district, the crowd getting bigger and bigger as he performed, bringing a smile on his face. The person standing next to him, being used as his assistants, not so much. Why the hell did I agree to this? He said we were going out, not that I was being used as his mime assistants. I swear to God when I get out of this box you are so dead. At the end of the performance he had received a roar of applause, bowing. Then pointing to his girlfriend who was still tied up red-faced, received a louder applause. Woo, go Deku's assistants. No way, remember that's his girlfriend. Oh no shit. Are they gonna be a performing duo? Izuku smiling was about to nod his head yes, before Kendo cut him off. No. I was just pulled into his act unaware, literally. I thought this was gonna be a date. She sighed. Well, can't it still be? You spent time with him doing what he loves, so shouldn't it count? Someone shouted. Kendo stared at the crowd in disbelief, those beginning to murmur in agreement. Izuku joining them. No way. I'm not. No, I'm not. Taking relationship advice from my boyfriend's fans. A normal date is out for lunch, or movies, or wait, what am I doing? I don't need to explain myself to you. Deku, untie me. Suit yourself, mime girl. The crowd shrugged as they began to disperse. Kendo slapped her face in frustration, glaring at her boyfriend who looked away innocently. Oh, don't even when we get back to the dojo, you are so dead. Exclamation point. Oh yeah, be scared. Kendo threatened. Thud. Kenta walked up to see his daughter brutally tossing her boyfriend on the mats. Sipping juice, he looked to one of his older students who winced. What did he do now? Passing his phone over to his sensei, the older student kept his eyes on the younger girl who kept beating on the mime, never letting up in time for the boy to escape her wrath. Izuku looked to his left, fear in his eyes. Those in the dojo guiltily looking away so as not to feel Itsuka Kendo's wrath. Oh no, don't even think about asking for help. You told me we were going out, then you used me as your assistant for a performance. You could have at least told me before surprising me like that. Kendo said, exasperated at her eccentric boyfriend. I'm sorry. Izuku yelled before slapping his mouth. Everyone turned to look at the pair in shock. Not once had they ever heard Izuku speak while in his mime suit. Yeah, he's taken a few punishments in stride because of his moronic antics, but even then he never spoke. Wow, he must have realized how much he messed up. Izuku, did you just speak? Kendo spoke. Izuku nodded, smiling sadly. Raising a sign back up with a sad face in apology, he hugs the girl hoping it conveys how sorry he is. Sighing because she already knows she would accept his apology, she hugs him back. Yeah, I accept your apology. How could I not after you broke your mime vow to apologize? Kendo sighed, smiling. Izuku was at his house trying to figure out what to do for his next show when his mom ran into his room yelling for him. Mom! Izuku, honey! Inko yelled again, panting out of breath with an envelope in her hand. It's here, your letter, it's here. After a week of waiting and no word from All Might, his results from UA were finally here. Izuku put away his lasso and reached out for the letter, smiling. For some reason a shiver went coursing through his spine when he touched the envelope. Both mother and son stared at the letter, neither wanting to open it just yet. Then when they realized how dramatic they were being, they tore it open, finding a metal cylinder inside of it. Both Midoriyas were confused as to what it was, until a bright light shined from it. They're so extra. As the light dimmed, both mother and son opened their eyes to see a small bear, mouse dog thing projecting in front of them. Hello, Izuku Midoriya. Let me be the first to say you were quite the examinee. To stop all others from even entering the mock city was a very interesting thing to watch. And while a bit unorthodox, it was outstanding. You scored 150 points passing the practical and the written with a 95%. Congratulations Midoriya, you've made it into UE. I look forward to seeing you this term. Please do stay out of trouble. Inko Midoriya looked at her son with a deadpanned expression after finding out what he had done to the examinees. Izuku, did you seriously keep the other children from completing the exam? Oh my god, you're so stupid, but god is that funny. My little boy is gonna be the coolest hero ever. Inko said, tears of laughter rolling down her face as she hugged her son. Izuku hugged his mom back, smiling at the words on the letter. Class 1A. So, you got in class 1A too, huh? Ya figured they'd put the two strongest people in the best class. Bakugo scoffed. Turning to Manhands, he looks asking with his eyes for her class. Unaware of her downcast look. Oh, actually I got put in 1B, she said, a bit sad, and embarrassed that she was put in the lower hero class. Wait, seriously? You're not gonna be in my class? Izuku asked, disappointed since the only reason he's going to UE was to study literally with Kaken and Kendo. Oh, and to be All Might's successor, but that's a whole other thing. So, what Manhands? You still got in, just because you're in 1B doesn't mean you're lesser than 1A or anything. We'll have joint classes and stuff. You just won't be able to sit by your mime boyfriend, Bakugo scoffed. A small smile formed on Kendo's face. Yeah, guess you're right. Still I won't see you guys, but still, being in the hero course is better than nothing. Better than nothing, Izuku murmured. God damn it, what the F is the nerd thinking of doing now? Bakugo groaned. Kendo sighed. I don't know, but can we really stop it? No. No, we can't. Bakugo relented. Izuku never really cared for the hero profession. Anyone who had known him knew this. His mom, his classmates, Kaken. They all knew his focus was to become a mime, the best mime in the world, in fact. But people change, their plans, which they had mapped out since childhood, sometimes change. Sometimes, people see a pretty girl during one of their mime performances and ask them out, which in turn leads them to finding out they're applying for the hero course at UA, and from there everything in your life just sort of derails from its original plan. Still, Izuku's dream stayed the same, and he continued wanting to be the best mime in the world. Nothing could change that, or so he thought. Somehow snagging a hot girlfriend and deciding to join Yurare to be with her caused the thought of being a hero become slightly more appealing, slightly not much. His end goal to make people smile with his performances as a mime never changed, despite her advice of also becoming a part-time hero. However, as he said before, life has a way of taking your original plans and tossing them in the trash. Once meeting the symbol of peace who saw his potential, albeit unintentionally, Izuku knew that he might as well try, if not for the sake of being closer to Kendo and keeping the promise he made with his best friend, but to make twice as many people smile like he's always planned. Haha, Midoriya Shonen, I thought you wanted to be a hero, not a murderer. Midoriya had the decency to look embarrassed after discussing with All Might his performance at the entrance exam. Although the symbol of peace thoroughly enjoyed how his successor had performed, he admitted that the mime boy went a little overboard. Sorry, but that kid with glasses made fun of my outfit and everyone laughed with him. I couldn't help but. All Might held his hand up to the broccoli-haired boy, smiling. Say no more, Mime Midoriya. I, along with the Nizu, already figured that was the exact reason you annihilated the other examinees. It was quite enjoyable to watch. Izuku was happy that he didn't get in trouble for how he had acted at the entrance exam. Thanks, All Might. You know, I'm actually excited to start Udata tomorrow. That's exactly what I wanted to hear from my successor. All Might yelled, wondering how many times the mime boy would be called into the principal office. UA starts today, honey, aren't you excited? Mama Midoriya said to her son. Izuku thought about it for a moment. He wasn't lying when he said he was happy about going to U today, especially since he'll be able to study with his girlfriend and best friend, but then again. Smack. Oh, what the heck, Mom? Stop moping and go have fun at UA with Kendo and Bakugo, she scolded the young boy. I've already come to terms that you're gonna cause a lot of mischief there and I'll be called up there a lot, so just hurry on to school and do whatever you were planning on doing so I can meet your principal already. Inko says with an eye roll. Wait, seriously? Izuku said. Just don't get expelled so you can't be with Kendo, alright? She adds. Izuku stared at his mom in awe. He was surprised she was being so lenient with his mischievous behavior, a smile stretching across his face. He knew she always dealt with it in middle school since they never really reported it, but this was UA. Seriously, stop. The only reason I'm allowing this is because I highly doubt, and I mean it when I say I highly doubt you'll be able to find anyone else with a mime FTSH anytime soon, and I want grandbabies. She glared. Do not screw this up for me, Izuku, she growled. Izuku blushed bright red at his mom's words, laughing. Deciding she was right, and it was better to get ready, he grabbed his signature red shoes, yellow backpack, forgoing the tie since didn't even know how to tie it, and headed out. Bye, Mom, thanks for the advice. Bye, you little nerd, don't screw up. Izuku never imagined he would end up here, walking to the entrance of this school. Udare to be exact. For the hero course that he applied to. Where he got in. Class 1A, not 1B. Man, why'd that dumb nerd have to make me mad so I'd get such a good score? Now I can't be with Kendo. Izuku grumbled, finally entering the school. Deciding moping was going to get him nowhere, he decided to get over it and search for his class. One. Aha! Up ahead the mime boy spotted the label of his classroom and headed straight for it. Psyching himself up, he stepped forward to the entrance of the class, before turning around. Well, the time to search for 1B. Izuku was just about to walk off when a hand quickly grabbed the back of his uniform jacket. Oh no you don't, babe, get your butt in there and find your seat. A voice that Izuku had become very smitten with said, annoyed. Izuku turned around to see and smile at the only person who could ever possibly stop his shenanigans. Itsuka, what are you doing here? Izuku said, smiling. Itsuka rolled her eyes at the innocent-looking boy. Don't give me that look. I know you were gonna ditch to find my class. And as flattered as I am, I really rather we both just get through the day with no problems. She pleaded. Izuku kicked his shoe at the ground, looking away. But I don't wanna. I wanna be with you. He whined. Itsuka had to look away from the boy's puppy eyes, annoyed that he could be so smooth without even trying. Izuku, get through the day without any problems and I'll be your assistant for your next performance. Immediately Izuku went from pouting to excitable, already planning what to do for his next show with his girlfriend along his side. Well, what do you know, babe? This is my stop, slapping his forehead. Guess I'll see you after school to talk about what we should do for our performance. Izuku said before blowing a kiss to his girlfriend. Why do I feel like I'm going to regret those words? Itsuka mumbled, walking towards her class. Once the doors opened, Izuku was met with the blue-haired boy, who made fun of his mime costume, and Kaken arguing. Izuku smirked. Heh, and Kendo thought I was gonna be trouble. Who are you to boss me around? The blonde yelled. My name is Ida Tenya. I'm from Somei Private Academy. The boy explained. An elite, huh? I'll have fun blowing you to a crisp. The blonde yelled. Is that really how you talk to your fellow classmates? Ida yelled. Yo, Kaken. Izuku said, garnering the attention of numerous classmates. Many looked at boy curiously, trying to figure out where they had seen him before, and others outright glaring at him. Of course, oblivious as he was, Izuku ignored them all, going to meet with Bakugo for a fist bump. The atmosphere surrounding them turning hostile, as he was finally recognized as the green-haired boy from the entrance exam. Hey, you're that a-hole who stopped us from doing the entrance exam. A boy with blonde hair and a lightning streak said angrily. Indeed, you did not sparkle at all, a French boy said. Those in the class stared at the freckled-faced boy shocked. Oh yeah, I knew your green hair looked familiar. Blocking the entrance to the mock city. So you could take all the points for yourself was a real JRK thing to do. You're lucky the principal let us do a makeup exam, a girl with round cheeks complained. Izuku looked at the teens confused. How am I the lucky one? I did the exam, so technically you're the lucky ones for being able to have a makeup. And besides, if that kid with the glasses hadn't made fun of my outfit, I wouldn't have gone all out. He said, going back to his conversation with Kaken, who began cackling at his best friend's actions. Deku, I thought you were lying when you said all that. Why would I lie about that, Kaken? I must say, your actions were very unprofessional of someone wanting to join the prestigious school that is you today. Ida said with his robotic arms. Not really. Izuku deadpanned. If anything, it only shows how much more qualified I am to enter this school than you are. Izuku jokes. Besides, the principal seemed to think they were fine. Bakugo laughing even louder as teens who had been in his exam group stayed silent at his admission. Yeah, so what did you guys have to do to make up for failing the regular exam? Izuku asked. We had to do this insane obstacle course, a girl with long earlobes seethed. I almost didn't pass. Sounds easy. Bakugo shrugged. Izuku stared at the girl blankly, turning back to Bakugo. So what rank did you get? He's so rude. In the far back a two-toned hair boy glared at the, in his opinion, unimpressive boy. He couldn't understand how someone so plain could have been the one to cause an entire group of students to have to retake an exam. No matter, I'll just prove I'm stronger than him, he thought. Izuku was about to say something in response to the kids who were still complaining about their retake exam when in the corner of his eye he saw a yellow caterpillar thing creep through the door. Guys? What is that? He asked, prompting the class, now all here, to see the thing slither further into the room. It apparently had the face of a human man, who hadn't seen sleep in forever. It took you all 8 seconds to shut up. I want that time to lessen as we progress. The man-caterpillar thing said. My name is Aizawa Shoyuda, and I am your homeroom teacher. He said, dropping the bag to reveal a man with long hair and a black outfit, a large white scarf wrapped around his neck, along with some yellow slit goggles. He pulled out a set of tracksuits and threw them to the students. Put these on and meet me at the training grounds in the back. Aizawa Shoyuda said. Izuku couldn't help but light up at the person in front of him, Bakugo noticing this but not bringing it up since they needed to change. Come on nerd, we gotta change. Izuku followed wordlessly as did the rest of the class. A few moments later and the entire class was outside. We teachers at UA have the freedom to guide our students however we choose. So, we'll skip initiation and start off with quirk assessment. Izuku Midoriya, as unorthodox. As it was you scored highest during the exam. Get in the circle. The broccoli-haired walked into the circle and held the ball in his hand. Unorthodox, he cheated, someone yelled. However, as soon as they yelled it, they shut up once seeing their homeroom glare at them. What was your farthest throw? Aizawa asked. Izuku shrugged, turning to Bakugo. Bakugo scoffed, shrugging back. Don't look at me, dim nerd. I don't even remember ever seeing you at P. Aizawa didn't even try to hold back his face palm. Why the hell did I ever accept this kid into my class? Izuku turned to the man with a sly smile. You know why, Eraserhead. The homeroom teacher sent his raps faster than the class could blink, but it seemed that was no problem for Izuku, who quickly mimed a wall. Bah, doesn't this bring back memories? I swear to God, Midoriya, if you don't throw that ball, I will expel you so fast, you will end up miming on the streets. Joke's on you, that's exactly what I've already been doing, he yelled. Boom! Ow! Kaken, what was that for? Izuku whined, trying to rub the pain of Bakugo's explosion from his head away. Nerd, if you don't throw that ball right now, I will tell Kendo you're misbehaving. Before Bakugo could even finish that sentence, Izuku quickly summoned One for All and combined it with his quirk. Once he tossed the ball up in the air, he hurriedly mimed a bat hitting the ball outside the fences of UA. Oh my god, Mina, I think that's Deku the Great. Kirishima whispered excitedly. Holy crap, Kirishima, we're going to class with Deku. Mina said just as excited. Karo, wow, Satsuki and Samidare are going to be excited about this. Karo. Tsuyu said, overhearing her classmates' conversations. Crack. What the hell did Midoriya just do? Yeah, 1 second he's tossing the ball in the air and swinging his arm back. And the next the ball is being sent outside U.A? Aizawa ignored all his kids' questions to read the radar, eyes widening at the reading. 850.5, not bad, problem child. Izuku ignored everyone else, including Aizawa, and turned to Bakugo. There, I did it. Please don't tell Kendo I was being bad. The explosion user smirked, whipped. Wow, we get to use our quirks. This will be fun. Mina said, ignoring the intense atmosphere between the green-haired boy, the blonde, and their homeroom teacher. However, after speaking, she realizes it would have probably been better to keep her mouth shut from the glare she was receiving from Aizawa. Fun, you say? How about we make it more fun? Last place gets expelled. The class gawked at this. Izuku, you're on thin ice, so take this serious or I'll expel you regardless of ranking. Rude. But that isn't fair. Uraraka Ochako said. Not fair? Natural disasters, villains, and quirk-themed incidents are not fair. This is simply weeding out those who can be heroes from those who can't. He said. Now, let's do the rest of the tests. For the next 2 hours or so, the students were scheduled to do multiple sets of tests. He looked over most of the tests and saw that his mime quirk would be of no use and relied mainly on one for all. The first test put Izuku against the candy-caned hair boy. Both rivals lined up against each other, the boy turning his face to Izuku to quickly speak to him. I just thought you should know you don't look like anything special, and I'm going to show that to everyone. Izuku smiled at the boy not speaking. Then slowly he raised one hand, then another in front of the boy, confusing him and everyone else looking at the two about to race. Only one knew what was about to happen, and he couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha! Go! Aizawa shouted. Ow! Izuku shot forward like a bullet, meeting the finish line in less than 4 seconds. His opponent had no such luck. Todoroki, what are you doing? I can't go forward, there's a wall blocking me. Aizawa face-palmed. Midoriya, let Todoroki out of the box and go back to the starting line, and you know what? Just go away, you're excused from the apprehension test. Izuku shot finger guns at his teacher and Bakugo, who flipped him off smiling. It didn't really faze the boy, who was already used to this behavior. Those two have a really weird relationship. Uraraka said, everyone around her agreeing. Meanwhile, Todoroki was recovering from having slammed face first into Izuku's wall, hating the green-haired boy more than he already did. Alright, now that nightmare is over, I'll list the rankings up here. Aizawa announced tiredly. It's overall ranking, to be easier. On the note of expulsion, it was a tactical ruse, Aizawa said, causing panic from some of the students. Not really. I was so very tempted to expel Midoriya, but even I'll admit he has potential, and as long as Bakugo is here to keep him in check, I guess I'll keep him. I'm not his babysitter. Bakugo yelled, but was ignored by the teacher. After finishing his speech to the class, he looked to see Izuku shooting him finger guns, making him second-guess his expulsion. No, don't do it, Aizawa, he can change. There are copies of the syllabus in the classroom. Grab one before you leave. He sighed, already feeling an oncoming headache from the mime boy. The group dispersed to collect said object before leaving. After grabbing his syllabus, Izuku left the building, to see Itsuko walking up to him, a smile on her face. Babe, how was your first day in class? She asked. Totally great. I was so good. No problems at all, he said, sweat dripping down his face. Quickly grabbing his girlfriend's hand, he began dragging her out of class, away from his best friend, who he saw was coming towards the two with a smirk on his face. Izuku, what's the hurry? I thought we were waiting for Bakugo, the orange-haired girl asked. Bakugo? Who's that? Never heard of him. He chuckled nervously, before hearing a call for him. The two turned around to see Bakugo jog up to them. Nerd, I know you were trying to leave me. Because you didn't want me to tell Man-Hands you were bad. Bakugo yelled. That's a lie, I was super good, he yelled back nervously. Why am I even dating you? Itsuka laughed, tears running down her face. So how was class, Shoyuta? Nizu asks with a smile. I'm not strong enough, Nizu, I'm just not strong enough. Shoyuta said, slipping into his sleeping bag, zipping it up. That's a bit unnerving, All Might chuckled. So, you're not gonna be my assistant? Were you good today? Izuku looked to the ground sadly. No, I wasn't. There's your answer. Itsuka replied, continuing her walk to her family's dojo. Izuku glared at Bakugo for having put him in this situation. One of the benefits, he thought, of not being in the same class with Itsuka was that she would never learn of his shenanigans. Why couldn't Kaken be in 1B? What was that fucker? Izuku turned his head to the blonde and stuck his tongue out. You heard me, Kaken. You cost me a hot assistant, I'll remember that. Bakugo clicked his tongue at the mime, turning away. Kendo, on the other hand, was too busy covering her red face after being called hot by her boyfriend. He's so troublesome but so adorable. He's gonna be the death of me, she groaned, waving goodbye to the two boys who seemed to be in their own world arguing. Hey honey, how was your day? The dojo master father asked. Kendo smiled at her father as she entered the dojo, then shook her head. Ah, Mime caused that much trouble, huh? The dojo master watched as his only daughter fell to the floor tiredly. That much and so much more, Dad, but I can't find it in my heart to actually get angry at him for being such a troublemaker. The dojo dad couldn't help but laugh at his daughter, who looked tired from having to deal with her boyfriend's antics. That's 'cause you love the weird mime boy. You know, you remind me of when I was dating your mom back when we were in high school. Kendo watched as a nostalgia look appeared on her father's face, his words shocking her. So, you had to keep mom out of trouble too? Nah, she usually ended up convincing me into helping her with her demon escapades so we would both end up in trouble, the man cackled. There was really no use in even trying to stop her. Kendo face-bombed at this information. So, I get my weird taste in guys from you. Hey now, your mom wasn't a demon mime, she was a normal girl, all right. Her father defended. She just happened to also be a troublemaker. You're the one with a mime FTH, he yelled. Okay, I've had enough with everyone calling it a mime FTH. If anything, it's a KNK or a turn-on. Kendo stated, jumping to her feet. It wasn't until she had finished speaking that she had realized what she said to her father. Ada, can we forget I ever said that? Kendo whispered, hands covering her mouth. I wish I could, but I don't think I'll ever be able to, Kenta said, red-faced. Itsuka nodded slowly, slinking off to her room where she was hoping she could hide away. Until she was old enough to move out. My little Itsuka has been tainted by Mime, Kenta cried. It was someone clearing their throat which had finally garnered the older man's attention. Wow, Sensei, we were just joking when we said Kendo had a thing for mimes, Ikari says, embarrassed. Huh, so Kendo has a mime KNK? Man, you think you know someone. Jean mumbles, heavily blushing. The next morning went nothing how Izuku expected it to go. Let him explain. Instead of him picking up his girlfriend, grabbing a quick bite to eat, then heading to the train station where they would then head to school, he was currently being chased by 20 brown black belt students from Kendo's dojo. From what he could hear, they were trying to fight him for tainting Itsuka and ruining her pure soul. How did I taint her? I don't remember doing anything bad to her. I mean, there was last week when we were alone at my place, but if anything, she tainted. We can hear you, Mime. Jean yelled, parkouring off a dumpster and flying towards Izuku. Now Izuku knew he could easily mime a wall and escape the angry karate teens, but as a student of UE, he could no longer break quirk laws and... Psyche! You'll never catch me alive. Miming a wall, the older girl crashed and fell into the other students. Looking back to see his wall worked flawlessly, he summoned one for all and ran from the rest, apologizing as he trapped them in a box to ensure they were unable to follow him. Why did we think we actually stood a chance against that kid? Ikari groaned. What are you talking about? I knew we were going to fail from the start. I just wanted to get out of training from Sensei today, Riku grins. Those still trapped in the box flipped the bird at the smiling boy. When Itsuka ran past her friends, trying to catch up to her boyfriend, embarrassed, go to school already. The dojo students looked at each other before scrambling away. Oh crap! Izuku had just arrived at school 5 minutes before it was to start with Itsuka by his side. He had stopped long enough for the big fist user to catch up and apologize for what her dad had sent Jean and the others to do. However, when he asked why, she merely blushed and said not to worry about it. Both departing for their respective classes before they were late. See ya, babe. Bye, Izuku. Kendo smiled. As Izuku entered his class, he saw everyone staring at him. Whether it was because of how unkempt he looked or because of how awesome he was unclear. It was the former. Your uniform is not to you. A standards Midoriya. Where is your tie and tuck in your shirt and your... What made you late, Deku? Bakugo grumbled, interrupting Ida's lecture to Izuku about his unkempt look. The elitist gaped at the two boys who purposely ignored him to enter their own conversation to the amusement of the rest of the class. It took a wrong turn. Izuku shrugged. Bakugo clicked his teeth, not buying his excuse at all, but not really caring to ask for more details. He left his friend alone. Whatever, hero training today. You got your costume design sent in? Izuku smirked, nodding. Yup, I think you'll like it, Kakin. It's pretty imper. It's just your mime suit with some protective gear, isn't it? Bakugo sighed. Izuku didn't answer, looking away in hopes Bakugo would stop staring at him with that intense stare. The blonde apparently already knew the answer, so Izuku wasn't sure why he was asking. Seems a little redundant to me. Of course, it is, FNG nerd. He shook his head. Can't even get away from your nerdiness at school. Before Izuku could retort, a loud bang was heard throughout the classroom, drawing the attention of everyone to the front of the classroom. I am Dash, a loud voice boomed, invading the class. Coming through the door like a normal person. All Might cried, leaning into the classroom while holding onto the doorframe. It's All Might. Wow, he really is a teacher. That's a costume from the Silver Age, isn't it? Karo. Izuku smiled at the arrival of his mentor. Seeing the smiling faces of his classmates as they saw the symbol of peace was exciting, as it gave him a glimpse of what he would soon be experiencing as a hero. Hello, my young pupils. All Might said, finally halting his jilted march when he was behind the podium. I will be your teacher for Foundational Hero Studies, where you will learn the basics of being a hero. This will be an everyday class, unaffected by your other classes' rotations. Now, let's get right into it. All Might shouted, flipping a card around to display the activity they would be doing today. This is our assignment for today. All Might said, holding a card. Combat training. The class cheered, excited at the prospect of being able to do something so active on only the second day. Even Izuku, who was skeptical about heroing, was excited about doing something so hands-on so early. And to add on to that, here are your suits. All Might cried, pointing towards a section of the classroom wall which had 4 gray stripes on it. Slowly, the panels rolled out of the wall, revealing tall racks with cases numbered 1 through 20. Your hero costumes, which were made based on your quirk registrations and the requests you sent in before classes began. Now, get changed and meet me in ground beta. All Might left the room, laughing boisterously the whole way. Izuku and Bakugo both looked at each other with a devilish gleam in their eye. Both ran to the changing rooms to put on their suits. All those in the classroom whom were left behind looked on worriedly. Anybody else feel a little worried? Zero chuckled hesitantly. The class was indeed worried. Finally getting over seeing the 2 troublemakers of the class rush out of the room, the rest of the class had grabbed their case and went to the locker room, both boys and girls changing as fast as they could so the lesson could get started and they could see everyone else's costume. In the boys' locker, Izuku had just finished applying his face paint and begun painting his signature black diamonds to his cheeks. At the sound of someone calling his name, he looked away from the mirror in the locker room, staring blankly at who called him. Yo Midoriya, what are you doing? Kaminari asked. This call-out was enough to draw the attention of all the other boys who were now also interested in what Izuku Midoriya was doing. They saw he was already dressed in some weird black and white outfit, but now it seemed as though he was applying makeup on his face. Yeah, why are you putting makeup on? Bujiro asked. Izuku shook his head, pointing to Bakugo to clarify what exactly he was applying to his face. The boys looking more confused every minute. Izuku stayed quiet. Face paint, dumbass, not makeup. Get it right. Bakugo scoffed. But why is he wearing it now? It was Zero who asked this time, wondering if perhaps him asking would cause Midoriya to answer. It didn't. Instead, Izuku stood staring at them, pointing at his face paint and then his half-finished diamonds. At seeing the guy's confused face, Izuku rolls his eyes and points to Bakugo. They then look to the explosive user. Bakugo scoffs again, answering, he's a Deku the Mime, duh, before walking away while adjusting his gauntlets. The 3 boys were even more confused than before they asked their questions, unlike a red-haired classmate who was beaming with joy at seeing the boy in front of him. Are you kidding me? He's not just any mime, he's Deku the Great. Kirishima shouted. I can't believe I'm going to school with the Deku the Great. Bakugo showed surprise at someone knowing who Izuku was while Izuku's eyes were brimming with happy tears towards being recognized. This must be what pro heroes feel like at being recognized. Oh man, it is such an honor to meet you. I hung up our picture we took, you know. Mina and I still haven't figured out how you were able to take our picture, but we still enjoyed it, you know. Izuku shot a thumbs up before finishing his makeup and leading the red hair boy outside. Readily listening to his classmate tell him about all the secret shows he's gone to, witnessing his amazing performances. Each compliment making Izuku's heart burst with pride of having such a dedicated fan. Shitty hair stopped boosting Deku's ego. Bakugo ranted from behind the two. Was anyone gonna tell me Deku the Great was our classmate, or was I gonna have to find that out myself? Who the hell is Deku the Great, and how do you know about him, Mineta? Siro says confused. He's the luckiest mime BSTRD ever. I watched one of his performances on the web and his assistant was this really hot chick who turned out to be his girlfriend, Mineta explains. Tsushi totally has a mime K. All Might patiently stood at the front of ground beta for his class. Right on time. Out of the darkness appeared his class of young students, all clad in outfits drastically different from their school uniforms. They say the clothes make the man, ladies and gentlemen. Be fully aware, whenever you are in those outfits, you are heroes. The teens stood in front of the number one hero, costumes on full display. Yes, good. You all look very cool. All Might called encouragingly, receiving cheers from the class. Now, shall we begin, your zygotes? The joint classes roared in approval, all but three that is. As it turns out, Kirishima, Bakugo and Izuku had gotten lost and turned up late causing a scene for themselves. Sorry we're late everyone. We got lost looking for this place, Kirishima said embarrassed. Like hell I got lost. I was just following you two to make sure you didn't do anything stupid, isn't that right Deku? Bakugo exploded. Question mark. Don't act all innocent you lil sheet. I know for a fact if I left you with shitty hair you would have probably burned the school down. Izuku looked away insulted by his friend's accusation holding up a sign with sad face. To those who knew nothing about the two it was quite comical. All Might ignored Bakugo's outburst to address what really drew his attention to the trio. Midoriya Shonen, are you sure you got the right costume? Izuku looked himself up and down before nodding, shooting his best showman smile to the pro. All Might couldn't help but facepalm at what his successor was planning to wear as a hero. He simply stood staring at his successor in awe. His costume was not exactly what he was expecting, but then again when the boy said he wanted to be a mime as well as a hero he should have really expected something like this. This is who I chose, I must stick it out. Well, very nice then Midoriya Shonen, it's creative. Izuku shot his mentor a thumbs up before looking to his classmates' costumes, barely noticing them now that he and Kaken were no longer fighting with each other. His eyes bulged out at seeing a girl with spiky black hair and the pink alien girl. He immediately turned to Kaken pointing to the girls. Bakugo looked to the group of girls confused. Yeah, what of it? Izuku looked affronted before waving at his body, then there's looking properly scandalized. Deku, if you can't handle looking at a half-naked chick and a pink chick with skin-tight clothes, then how are you gonna handle your girlfriend in her outfit? Izuku fell to the groan at the image of his girlfriend in her hero suit. It was just a drawing he remembered, but a very vivid one that gave him a heavy nosebleed. Getting onto all four, Izuku held up a blank sign before writing something on it. I'm not strong enough. Oh, shove it nerd and pick your butt up already. All Might already chose teams for the assignment that you literally missed all the directions for. Oops. Izuku looked properly chastised as Bakugo chopped his head, the rest of class and All Might sweat dropping at the two students. All Might shook his head at his successor. No matter, Yaoyorozu will happily explain what's going on. Midoriya Shonen, seeing as you are up first against Todoroki and Bakugo. Izuku looked around shocked, pointing to himself, then the girl and the two boys walking towards the abandoned building. Nerd, I told you pay attention, didn't I? I'm gonna kick your butt now. Question mark. Izuku turned to the barely dressed girl with scared eyes. However, not because he was going up against Todoroki and Bakugo, he knew he could easily take them on, but because he had no idea what they were supposed to do, and he was next to a pretty girl who was barely dressed. He was extremely nervous right now. He may be in his mime persona, but that didn't mean he wasn't nervous about his first hero assignment. Momo Yaoyorozu came here on recommendations, with a very strong quirk if she said so herself. So, she thought when she was given the assignment to battle 2-on-2, heroes versus villains, it would be easy. However, that would be if she was given a competent partner. Looking at the boy next to her in a mime outfit pulling signs out of nowhere, she was sure she might have little to no chance of winning. Midoriya-san, seeing as you were not paying attention, it has turned to me to tell you what our objective is. The boy stared her, nodding. Good, she thought, at least he listens. We are the heroes. We need to capture the bomb or subdue the villains within a 15-minute time frame before the villains stop and capture us. Izuku cupped his chin, nodding, shooting a thumbs up. Seeing as we are partners, I find it pertinent that we communicate and make a plan, don't you think? Again, a thumbs up was all she received. She realized this was going to be harder than she thought, and with only hero team go. Well, there's go the planning time. She sighed. As soon as Bakugo saw he would be fighting his rival best friend, he felt a rush of adrenaline run through his entire body, along with a sense of dread. Because out of the 125 times he's fought that prick, he's only ever won twice. Both times was by him having to fight dirty, and even then he barely won. Which is why the blonde knows if he's going to have any semblance of a chance of winning with Mr. Ice Prick on his side, playing dirty is gonna be their tactic again this time around. Listen here, Zuko, whether you want to admit it or not, we have some strong opponents coming after us, Bakugo all but growled. Todoroki merely glanced at the blonde before beginning to walk off. This did not bode well with Bakugo as he used his explosions to jump in front of him. Listen, prick. I've known Izuku my entire life, and while he is a lazy bastard, he is a strong lazy bastard. He will trap you in a box as soon as he sees you with his FING stupid mime quirk, and then shrink that box until you are completely crushed. Ponytail, he doesn't even need her, Bakugo shrugged, but I'm sure he's gonna be nice and allow her to assist him by asking for like some duct tape or sheet like that. Point is, we're out of our league if we don't work together. He finished yelling. By the end of the blonde's rant, it seemed as though his words had gotten through to the ice user, that is until his eyes had hardened, and he pushed Bakugo out of the way and kept walking towards the exit. You may be weak enough to lose to that bushy-haired boy, but I will not. Just give me 5 minutes and I will take down both Midoriya and Yaoyorozu. Bakugo merely tossed his arms in the air in anger before deciding to concoct a plan that would possibly help him get through the 15-minute mark as well as beating the DMN mime. With Izuku and Yaoyorozu. Ahem, Midoriya, may I inquire as to what you plan on having us doing? Momo asked, as they continued walking towards their testing building. Izuku looked to the heiress before blushing and hurriedly looking away. However, since he knew if they were to ever become future partners on the field, he would have to come face to face with her costume again. So, stealing his resolve, he looked to her again, but this time kept to her face. In the back of his mind, he told himself he should have been doing that in the first place, but no need to sweat the little things. Anyways, as Izuku thought about the heiress's words, he shot her a thumbs up before pointing towards the top of the building, garnering a curious look from her. You want us to go to the top of the roof? While I can understand the logic behind it, why not go straight in? By doing that we could search each floor bottom to top. Izuku shook his head with arms in an X formation. Then counted down to 0 with his fingers while pointing at the front door, which just frosted up. Oh wow, Todoroki already tried to freeze us using his ice, and you figured he would do that, which is why you want us to go to the top floor, because since Todoroki came down here to stop us, that would mean they most likely have the bomb on the top floor. And if Todoroki is down here, then that means Bakugo is left alone up there. Exactly, deduction skills, Midoriya. All Might Sweat dropped at his 2 students before smiling. Yaoyorozu would learn to understand Midoriya so fast. Amazing, Yaoyorozu was able to make a connection with Midoriya and understand the boy in just under 2 minutes. Yaoyorozu truly deserves her recommendation. Nizu says. Ga, where did you come from, Nizu? Well, I did say I was going to keep an eye out for Midoriya, did I not? The rodent, bear thing chuckles. The rest of the class hearing this shiver at the implications. Izuku shot her a thumbs up before stepping forward, gesturing the same to the girl. Skeptical at what was happening but still trusting of the boy who kept her from being frozen, she followed him, however just not without question. Midoriya, how are we getting to the top of the building if not by stairs? Would you like me to create some grappling what in the… Before Momo could finish her thought, her and Izuku were going straight up the side of the building in what seemed like an… Midoriya, are we in some type of self-constructed elevator made from your quirk? Izuku looked at his classmate impressed. Most people wouldn't have made such an elaborate guess when first experiencing his quirk. A sign pulled out of nowhere proved Momo right. Yes. Amazing. Your quirk seems limitless. Well, as much as I would like to study your quirk further, we're at the top of the building, she said, after hearing a ding. Wait, did his quirk just… Izuku just looked to her before winking and gesturing for her to follow him. If he knew Bakugo, the boy would want to fight him up front to show how strong he's gotten. Whilst Todoroki was somewhat of a wild card. Getting a blank sign out, Izuku requested the heiress create a flame thrower. Surprisingly, she asked no questions as it seems she knew who it was for. Then before she could say anything, Izuku handed her something. She really couldn't say what it was since it was invisible. After unraveling the invisible object, she deduced it was rope. After wrapping it back up, she put it on her belt, not even questioning how he was able to give objects made from his quirk away. What even is your quirk, Midoriya? She sighed. Izuku shrugged at the girl before walking ahead. Momo didn't even try to stop him for answers, rather just followed his lead. They had gone through 4 rooms before finally entering the one they wanted. Waiting for them there was an angered Bakugo with no sign of the bomb anywhere. At this sight, Izuku pulled out an arrow pointing backwards to the door, indicating he wanted Momo to leave and go search the other rooms. With a nod she ran out along with her flame thrower and the rope Izuku had gifted her in search of the bomb. Her hopes of not running into Todoroki dashed when after searching the 5th floor she found him standing at the far corner. Sorry, but I can't allow someone with face paint and a very revealing outfit beat me. Not speaking another word, Todoroki let out a rush of ice intent on knocking Momo out. However, what he did not expect was her to be using such a high-powered flamethrower that managed to throw him back. Troublesome, but I can cool you down, Todoroki mumbled. Another wave of ice was sent towards Momo, but again her high-powered flamethrower melted it like it was nothing, thankfully. Although she was happy Izuku's idea worked, even she was unsure of when it would run out of power. How? From the way Todoroki was looking troubled, Momo could tell something was wrong. His breathing was heavy, and his sides seemed to be frosting. Of course, even he can get tired from quirk overuse, Momo thought. Taking advantage of this weakness, she made a flashbang and tossed it at the boy, successfully blinding him. On my eyes. After quickly blinding the ice user, she quickly tossed Izuku's rope at the boy, successfully capturing him. However, upon not hearing All Might's voice to state Todoroki's capture, she realized she had forgotten to put him in actual capture tape. After securing the actual tape on and hearing All Might's voice over the intercom, she smiled, waiting for Izuku finish off Bakugo. Todoroki has been captured. Did Yamamoto really just capture Todoroki with an invisible rope and a flamethrower? Jiro asked. Hell yes, she did. And it was Deku the Great's rope. Kirishima yelled, high-fiving Mina, who was just excited. Unorthodox, yet effective. I like it, All Might. Nizu said, smiling. Yeah, you would. All Might sighed. Let's do this, nerd. And so, the battle between fated rivals began. Nerd, lay off the FING signs. Where are you even getting them? Question mark. What do you mean you don't know? You're the one pulling them out of your butt. Exclamation point. Okay, enough, I'm coming for your dumb mime butt. Bakugo yelled, soaring across the room thanks to his explosions. Deciding to take the fight serious, Izuku got in his Vegeta stance to activate One for All. Black and white lightning began to dance around him, his hair flying up as if he were an actual scion. Nerd, I don't know when you developed this super move, but it won't stop me from killing you. Really, All Might already? Nizu mumbled. How? He thought of himself as Vegeta Super Saiyan mode. All Might chuckled. Nizu stayed quiet for a few moments before he began to laugh, slowly turning into a cackle. Oh, this is going to be a fun year. The class behind them began to become even more scared of their principal. Oh, is Bakugo serious about killing Midoriya? Nizu asked, worried for the well-being of his most interesting student. No, they're just idiots. All Might shrugged. Izuku chuckled as he enhanced the wall he mimed, making it practically indestructible. Watching his rival slam into right before his eyes was almost enough to make Izuku laugh aloud, but of course he didn't. He merely mimed it. "Gahan mime, I think your wall broke my nose." Izuku looked offended that Bakugo would say such a thing, much to Bakugo's ire. "Don't give me that look, you broke my nose." Bakugo yells, angry. By now his explosions had hit lethal if hit by them. Well, they would be lethal for Izuku if Bakugo could even touch him. Alright then, Bakugo grins menacingly, blood running down his face. "Gonna play dirty? That it, nerd? Well, guess what? I can play dirty," the aggravated blonde yells. "Should we stop this, All Might, sir?" Siro says, the menacing looks on his classmates' eyes mixed with his bloody face creeping him out. "Nah, it's just getting to the good part," All Might says, eating popcorn. Izuku merely returns his yell with a smirk, knowing all too well that in the end Bakugo will lose. It's this exact thought that has him taking a rope and preparing it to toss at the blonde to capture him like he usually does. Tossing the rope at Bakugo, he smiles at the boy waiting for it to make contact, only for his eyes to widen in surprise when Bakugo somehow dodges the invisible rope. "Yeah, dipshit, I've endured, adapted, and learned from our past. You can't get me with that same trick. Again." Izuku stares at Bakugo in awe, only one thought running through his mind: he dodged invisible rope, before the other one shouts at him, shooting explosions at him. Of course it is exactly as the last time, and Izuku deflects it with a wall he mimed. "Just gonna keep miming walls and boxes to keep me away, huh? Guess it's time for my ultimate move." Bakugo shouts, eyes gone feral. Izuku begins to eye his friend a bit warily, wondering what the boy could mean by that. His heart stopping when he sees his friend holding a picture only meant for Kendo's eyes. "No. Oh yes. You see, you may have thought when you took this picture of yourself in your All Might boxers trying to flex while still wearing your mime face paint that no one was looking, but as it turns out your mom caught you, and found what you were doing so funny that she couldn't help but take a pic to show to my mom, who in turn showed me." Bakugo cackled. Slowly Izuku fell to his knees. The embarrassment of what he had done for his girlfriend getting around to others weakened his resolve to fight. He was too worried that Bakugo might show it to his classmates and ruin his reputation as Deku the Mime. Exclamation point. That's what does him in All Might deadpans. "Oh my, I am loving your class more and more, All Might." Nizu laughs. "All Might, why is Bakugo showing Izuku a piece of paper and laughing like a madman while Izuku slowly falls to the ground?" Kaminari asks. As it turns out, the camera was turned at just the right angle for the class to miss what exactly Bakugo seems to be holding in his hand. "Well, Kaminari, sometimes when fighting a villain, you'll find they use underhanded methods to defeat you, and right now is proof of that. Finally, I win." Bakugo cries before shoving an explosive hand at his friend's face, blowing him to the other side of the wall. Silently screaming, Izuku falls flat on his face, too weak to get up. No hope of winning against Bakugo while he has that picture. Did Deku just really get slammed into that wall by Bakugo's explosion and still mime a scream? Mina asks. "Yes, young Ishido, yes he did." All Might sighs. "Ho how?" "I don't know, young Ishido." All Might all but sighs again. After Momo finished her fight with Todoroki, she figured there was no reason to stay with the ice user and went back to help her partner, who she figured already captured Bakugo. Little did she know her arrival would be the key to winning the battle. As she headed up towards the room where she last saw Bakugo and Midoriya, she nearly tripped over her own feet at hearing the words of her classmate from outside the room. She held back her laughter at hearing about Midoriya sending such a lewd picture to his girlfriend, knowing that at this moment the element of surprise would prove who was victorious this round. Izuku still laid on the floor powerless against Bakugo, who was still monologuing like a true villain. This day felt momentous and he couldn't help but brag a bit. "I'm effing villain, I did what I needed to win," he grinned, walking up to the defenseless nerd. preparing to tie up the nerd, feeling a sense of victory at getting another win over Deku even if his methods were a bit underhanded. "And I am a hero who will not let you hurt my partner," Momo yelled, figuring right then was the perfect time to show herself. Never let it be said Momo Yaoyorozu did not know how to get into character. Throwing a smoke bomb in the room to distract Bakugo, she ran towards Midoriya, helping him up and snapping out of his stupor. "Midoriya, snap out of it, we still need to capture Bakugo so we can find the bomb to win the assignment." "Def dash? You telling me Mr. Freeze couldn't even take you down?" he growled, trying to wave away the smoke. Told that extra he was gonna fail. "Ms. Yaoyorozu is quite the actress," Nizu smiled. "What a heroic entrance," All Might shouted. Seeing that his partner had found him and helped him up, Izuku took the initiative to at least meet her halfway and forget about the embarrassing picture Bakugo currently held over him. Shooting a thumbs up to Yaoyorozu, Izuku unravels his trusty rope, waiting for the perfect moment to throw it at Bakugo. That moment arises when the smoke clears and Bakugo shoots towards the mime again, ignoring the warning bells in his head that are telling him the two heroes not moving away from him is a trap. As it turns out, the angry blonde proves correct as he ends up slamming into one of Deku's walls, falling flat on his back disoriented. Slowly trying to get his wits back together in time to take down the nerd and his partner, he feels tape wrapping around him and his good friend claustrophobia start to hit him. "Fucker trapped me in a box," he sighed. "Bakugo has been captured, the heroes win. Jar, you win this type, you mime beastie, but next time I swear." Bakugo all but growls after he finally gets over being confined in the small box. Izuku smiles back at the blonde before sticking his tongue out. Immediately sking it back in when he remembers the picture his friend has. Exclamation point. "Oh, you just remembered, did you? Yeah, don't worry nerd, I'll be saving that pic for a rainy day. Haha. Alright then, now that we have our two teams here, why don't we decide who the MVP for this round is?" All Might announces. Looking around, he sees no one raising their hand but the only person who can't technically speak. Of all people, seriously? He really didn't want to choose him, even if the little nerd was his protege, but given he was the only one holding his hand up and was jumping up and down trying to grab his attention, All Might figures he had no choice. "Nerd, settle the F down, you're the only one holding your hand up, he's gonna choose you for Christ's sake." Bakugo shouted, trying to hold Midoriya down but failing horribly as the boy trapped him in a box. "You a-hole, let me out of here. I'm gonna kill you, you little prick." Pounding on the box, Bakugo eventually gave up as he began to run out. Breath. F-U BT. Slinking to the floor in the box tiredly. All Might and Nizu stared at each other before deciding to move on. "Okay then, well, since it seems like the only one who wants to speak is Midoriya. The floor is yours." Midoriya bowed to them before gesturing to the class. The class watched closely as he pointed to Yaoyorozu, raising up one finger. The girl smiled at his compliment while others looked on confused. Then proceeded to point to Todoroki before jabbing his fists out, shooting the girl a thumbs up and bowing to her in thanks for her help with Bakugo. "Thank you, Midoriya, but you give me too much credit," Yaoyorozu says, bashful of the compliments from the mime. "I'm sorry, how the hell did you just understand a few hand gestures?" Jiro asked. "All I got from that was he thinks you're number one, and something about Todoroki getting his but beat, I guess?" The others in class mumbled their agreement, also not sure of what the mime boy had said. Actually, if we're gonna be more specific, Midoriya named Yaoyorozu as MVP, then he said she did a great job taking down Todoroki as well as helping him take out Bakubro, and he's thankful he had her as a partner, Kirishima said. Mina and Tsu nodding their head in agreement. "Yes, sounds about right." "Nicely said, Midoriya, and just what I was thinking." All Might bellowed. "Indeed. Yaoyorozu did a wonderful job taking out Todoroki and even sneaking back to help her partner, while filling the role of hero quite well. Overall job well done." Nizu added. Yaoyorozu continued to blush in thanks to their compliments. "Now tell me what you could have done better," All Might said. This time Ida raised his hand, intent to contribute. "Yes, Ida. Ahem, well, as good as Midoriya was, I believe that he needs to work on not being tricked by whatever underhanded methods Bakugo was able to pull on him. It seems like once Bakugo pulled that paper out he was down for the count and was of no more help of his partner, if she had needed any help. Midoriya sat in the corner of the room while Yaoyorozu consoled him on what she considered a job well done. No, Ida was a bit too harsh on his assessment. I think you did wonderfully, Izuku. Really? ? No, not at all, we just need to work on your skills for being blackmailed. But otherwise you were a big help. Nice job, Ida, you made the mime sad. Kirishima scolded. But what? I was just doing as All Might said and critiquing the group. Were you, Ida, or were you just still mad at Midoriya for making you do a makeup exam, so you thought to overly critique his skills this round? Nizu said. That's not it at all. Let's move on from Ida's poorly done critique and see how everyone else did. Principal Nizu perhaps? Yes. Well, I shall commend Yaoyorozu for being able to communicate with her mute partner in just a matter of seconds. That takes truly compatibility. Then to work together at the end like that was flawless. The two partners being talked about couldn't help but blush, one because she wasn't used to these many compliments, while the other was letting it go to his head, inflating his already big ego. As for the other two, TSK, Todoroki, I am disappointed you did not listen to Bakugo when he recommended teamwork. As he has the most knowledge on one of the heroes you were facing, you think you would have taken his words to heart and tried to go against him together rather than take out both alone since you consider them too weak for you. If I recall, he as well as Miss Yaoyorozu beat you in Aizawa's assessment. Nizu pointed out, disappointed. Todoroki grit his teeth. The fact he was beat was inconceivable. I will beat them without my old man's power. And Bakugo, good try, you were close to beating Midoriya, but you were too much like a villain. And I simply mean you continued to monologue when you should have gone in for the kill and taken Midoriya out before Yaoyorozu showed up to help him out. By then you had already lost. Nizu concluded. Bakugo growling at the mouse, bear while still stuck in his box. Whatever. The rest of the class just looked at the four students who had fought and were impressed and scared. If this is what they were up against, then they had a lot of work to do to catch up. Well, I'll be off, All Might. It was quite fun watching your class. Nizu says, walking off. Wait, Principal Nizu, aren't you going to watch our fights? Hagakure asks. Oh no, I mean no offense, but none of you interest me as much as Izuku Midoriya does. What? They all yelled. Well, good day and have fun. We're basically extras, the class yelled, insulted at their principal's words. Well, I could have told you that, Bakugo scoffed. Class 1B. Do you really have a mime FH? A green-haired girl, Setsuna if she remembers correctly, asks smiling. I'm gonna kill those too, Kendo sighs. I'm just asking because I follow Deku the Great and saw that there was a video of the blonde boy saying how you have a mime FTSH and that's how Deku reeled you in, she says. I don't have a mime FT, Kendo weakly defends, face bright red from the girl reciting the exact content of that wretched video which to this day still haunts her. Whoa, Press has a mime FT and with Deku the Great? Tetsutetsu yells. I do not. And when the hell did you make me president? When we found out how fearless you are admitting to the whole world your mime FT, Yui says stoically. But I don't. Falling to the ground, Kendo tries to defend her choice in boyfriends. I don't have a mime FTSH, he's just really nice and cute and funny, and yeah, I do like the mime makeup, but that's not relevant to why I'm dating him. Kendo, you totally just admitted to us that you have a thing for Deku's face paint. Setsuna laughs. No. Not here, I was supposed to start fresh, Kendo whispered weakly. Ah, come on babe, did you really think even here I wouldn't embarrass you? Midoriya asks, seemingly appearing out of nowhere, hugging the girl from behind. Jumping out of his arms, Kendo smacks the boy's head. And it is I thought I told you to behave. But I am. The boy pouts. I just was passing by when I saw you and was like, hey, my hot girlfriend, let's go greet her. 1. You did the total opposite of what you just said you wanted to do. And 2. Sneaking up on me and admitting to embarrassing me isn't behaving. She deadpanned. Besides, why aren't you in class? Izuku began to sweat at his girlfriend's question, although their battle training was over, and they had all finished changing. All Might had told them to meet back at class since Aizawa had some parting words. Oh well, you know, we got let out so and then I just figured, ahem, and that's how I ended up here. Izuku, you can't be serious. Kendo deadpanned. The entirety of 1B looked at the greenette and his girlfriend, most in disbelief at his crappy excuse of how he ended up in their class. He literally ditched class, didn't he? Away's deadpanned. Indeed, he is a sinner that will be purged to the greatest depths of hell. Ibra recited a light shining upon her. Well, DMN Shiozaki, he ditched class, not murder your mother. Kamakiri says. Izuku Midoriya. Aizawa yelled as he stormed into 1B. Ah, well babe, it seems our wonderful time together must be cut short, Izuku says before blowing a kiss to his girlfriend and jumping out their class window. Come here. The pro yells, tossing his capture gear at the boy only for it to get deflected by an invisible wall left behind. Catch me if you can. Izuku yells, his laughter echoing even after he disappears outside, leaving behind an entire class speechless, and one girlfriend said, "That kid will be the death of me." Aizawa growls before turning to Kendo. Why couldn't you be in my class? I'm not sure, sir. I thought teachers chose students. Aizawa's eye twitched at her statement. Whatever, I have an idiot to catch. How was school today, honey? I'm surprised you didn't walk home with Kendo. Oh, well, we like our space sometimes, and you misbehaved and now you're scared to see her, aren't you? I'm so scared, Mom, Izuku says, hugging his mother apron. Oh gosh, you are just like your father, my little wimp, Inko laughs. So how did you and Kendo meet? Mina asked. I guess you could say, it was love at first sight. Izuku sighed dreamily. Really? How romantic. So manly. Ah, that's so cute. Wow, what luck, Ribbit. Lucky Bisudi. Stupid nerd, stop lying. I was window shopping after one of my karate lessons and he used his quirk to fish me out of the crowd and started to mime pickup lines. Oh, yeah, that sounds about right. The group murmured. Are you still bummed out about yesterday, Katsuki? A blonde female look-alike of Katsuki asked. I already talked to Inko and she said that Midoriya wants to. I don't need an apology from the nerd, I need to get stronger. Bakugu screamed. Bakugus. Mother looked away chuckling, this is awkward, Katsuki. Izuku wasn't calling to apologize, he wanted to see if you wanted to help him with some of his miming. Bakugu glared at his mom until he finally shrugged. Yeah, alright. Why isn't your girlfriend here? Sad face. Still angry about what you did on Friday, yeah, understandable. Bakugu snickered. Turning towards the nerd who was already in his mime attire, Bakugu couldn't help but look himself in the mirror. Somehow, he was convinced into wearing matching mime attire by his auntie. Nerd, tell me again how your mom convinced me to wear a matching outfit with you? Question mark. No idea either. The power of Auntie Inko, I guess. He sighed. For the record, you ever tell anyone I did this, and I'll kill you, he growled. Izuku stared at Bakugu before silently laughing at Bakugu and sticking his tongue out. Phew, nerd. Hurry up with my face paint already, I don't got all day. Oh my god, did Deku get a new assistant? Why didn't I know about this? How is this not on the forums? When did this happen? Kirishima shouted as he watched a video online of a blonde boy helping his idol with his act. I mean, Deku is big, but he's not pop step big, Kirishima. Mina said. It's understandable that you wouldn't hear about this until now. I gotta find out who he is on Monday. Kirishima said, already preparing himself to question his friend. Is that Bakugu? Kendo wondered. Bakugu hated to admit it, but he was having fun assisting the nerd with his show. Really, all he had to do was be the guinea pig for any of his tricks. Sure, a few times the butt made him fall flat on his face or slam into a wall, but other times when Deku was being nice, he made something that allowed him to show off, and boy did he make the most of it. Holy shit, look at the blonde assistant. Someone in the crowd yelled. He's totally parkouring off of nothing. Another bystander yelled. No, he's parkouring off whatever Deku's making. Look at Deku, then watch the blonde dude. Another pointed out. The entire crowd did as the man said and watched as Deku moved his arm in a consistent manner. Then going back to Bakugu, they saw how every time Deku moved, so too would the boy parkour from that direction. Occasionally they watched as the blonde would add in small explosions, propelling him higher, landing safely on an invisible platform to jump off. Amazing, they're so in sync with each other. At the end of the show, both mimes got a standing ovation, many wishing to know the name of Deku's new assistant. Izuku looked to Bakugo nervously. While he had asked the Bakugo to come with him for a performance, he had never given it much thought to give the boy a name. Now he wishes he had thought this out more. Explosion Boy. I'm called Explosion Boy. Bakugo growled. Izuku for his part couldn't help but laugh, well silently, that is, as he read his forums introducing Deku's new partner. Screw you, I quit. Sad face. Ain't gonna work on me, Deku, go get your girlfriend, I'm not taking that stupid name. Bakugo says, walking off. Izuku shrugs at his friend before looking through who his next option is. Eyes shining at his next option. The next day. Izuku felt like today was going to be a great day. So far, he hasn't gotten into any trouble with anyone for anything he's done at school. Izuku, what's this I hear about you jumping out of a window from the second floor of school so you could evade your homeroom teacher while you skipped class to visit your girlfriend? Inko yelled from the kitchen. Izuku paled at his mother's words. How did she find out about what happened so fast? Izuku, your homeroom teacher called and told me 10 minutes ago. Apparently he tried calling last night, but he was too busy trying to put you in a different class only for it to get denied several times by your principal. Inko deadpanned. By now Izuku wondered if his mother could read his mind, because how else could she have been able to answer his questions? Bakugo's mom is MLF. Izuku, I can't read your mind, and even if I could I wouldn't, because I'm sure the only thing going through your head is how Bakugo's mom is elf. Inko smirked. Bakugo couldn't help the shiver that ran down his back as he ate cereal. Somewhere, someone was thinking something inappropriate about the old hag. I bet it's that FNG nerd. Sorcery! Izuku yelled before running out of his apartment. At least he tried. He forgot his mom had a similar quirk to him and stopped him mid-run, pulling him back to her. Attraction of stupid people is a pretty useful quirk, don't you think, Izuku? Says you. Izuku pouted. After getting a very long lecture about how she didn't want to get any more phone calls from her teacher regarding his shenanigans, Izuku was finally on his way to pick up Itsuka. As he entered the dojo of his favorite person, he saw her father about to say goodbye to her. However, as soon as the dojo master made eye contact with the mime, his eyes began to shine with mischief in them. Itsuka looked to her dad, who was already widening his arms for a hug, which was confusing given he had already hugged her. It wasn't until she had turned her head and saw who was coming in that her shoulders began to sag, and a small smile began to come on her face. Already she began to dread how embarrassing the two were going to be. Mime! Kenta yelled, heading towards the annoying greenette for a hug. Kenta! Izuku shouted back, already meeting the man halfway. Mime! Kenta! Me! Enough! Itsuka yelled, rubbing her temples to ease the headache she was feeling. Looking to the two men frozen mid-hug, she quickly ripped Izuku away and began pulling him away by his collar from the dojo. Come on, we have to get to school. She sighed. But dash. Izuku, don't make me take away your face paint. Izuku nodded nervously so as not to incur his girlfriend's wrath. The dojo master laughing at his daughter's boyfriend as he was dragged out of his building. Heh. Mime got in trouble. Midoriya starting to rub off on you, don't you think, sensei? Jean asked. Shut up. Izuku and Itsuka were halfway to the entrance of school when they were met a few classmates from 1A and 1B. Setsuna, Tetsutetsu. What's up? Nothing, just heading to school. What's up, Kaken, wanna get your butt beat again? Izuku grinned. I will kill you, fucker. Bakugo yelled, chasing after the freckled-faced boy. I mean, your boyfriend just seems... I know. Kendo sighed. By the time the others caught up with Izuku and Bakugo, the two were being bombarded by reporters. Well, they would have been had Izuku not created stairs for himself and the others to begin climbing in order to ignore the rabid adults. Ha! Screw you lames. How the hell did the kid do that? Aizawa had barely made it to the front of UA to witness his biggest problem child walking above a bunch of reporters, with Bakugo flipping them off. For FS sake. After escaping the reporters, They split ways inside the school with many protests from Izuku, who was forced by Itsuka to go to his class, only after she promised to meet back up with him at lunch. Swear it. Izuku pouted. Yes, Izuku, I swear it, Itsuka sighed. Her words seeming to satisfy the mime boy because he left after that with a smile on his face. You two are cute together. Setsuna cooed, her head popping up out of nowhere. Sheet, Setsuna. Kendo grabbed her chest to regulate her breathing. The green-haired girl caught her off guard when just her head had shown up out of nowhere, but then again this wasn't as bad as the stuff Izuku pulls with her. This is gonna be one fun year. Kendo said. So, do you like him better with the face paint on or off? Setsuna. Izuku had finally got to his class when everyone began swarming him. Or at least they tried to. Before anyone could get to him, a gruff voice was heard throughout the room silencing them. Izuku was fine with this because he had better things to do, like come up with a name for Bakugo when he performs with him. Everyone sit down and be quiet. Aizawa had walked into the classroom, immediately zoning in on Izuku, who didn't seem to notice the pro-hero was looking at him, or rather was glaring daggers at him. Apparently, he didn't forgive him for yesterday's stunt. Teach you ain't gonna get a reaction from the nerds, so get on with whatever you were gonna say, Bakugo scoffed. This only annoyed Aizawa more, but despite how annoying the kid was, he had to agree with Nizu. However reluctantly, the kid had potential to be a hero, if only he applied himself. Breathe, Shota, just breathe. After another minute of nothing happening, Aizawa counted to 10 and exhaled. Fine, first I'll go over the battle practice. Todoroki, learn how to utilize teamwork, or you'll never make it in the hero industry. Yaoyorozu, nice job learning how to communicate with the mimes so quickly. Being able to communicate with others in such an efficient manner is a useful trait. Bakugo, nice try. The three students seemed to take everything their teacher had said into account because one looked angry, another looked very happy, and the last one like he was going to explode. That left all but one waiting for his critique. Mr. Aizawa, what do you have to say to me? Midoriya shouted. Is that really how you flirt with your girlfriend? He said, cracking a smile. Izuku immediately shut up, looking away, much to the confusion of everyone. Now that that's over, we're picking a class president, he said. The class went into an uproar, while Midoriya continued with his quest to come up with the perfect name for Bakugo. He figured if he could come up with a better nickname for Bakugo, then the explosion user would like to perform with him again. Unfortunately, the only viable name he could think of was Explosion Boy. The crowd really knows Kaken's personality. Tisich, anywhere else being class president would be a sheet job, Deku, but at a hero school like UA. No doubt it won't prove useful later for our superhero car. Are you even listening, you piece of sheet? Izuku looked up to see Bakugo foaming at the mouth at him. Were you saying something, Kaken? Bakugo looked to the green-haired BSRD and looked away. Pay attention, nerd. He sighed. I want to do it. Let me do it. Ashido said. I'm too fabulous to not be the right fit, Aoyama said. Would you all please act with some decency? Ida shouted. The position of class president is a sacred position that moves the well-being of your peers directly upon your shoulders. It's not something you deserve to get just by raising your hand and hoping that someone picks on you. Izuku finally looked up from what he was writing once he heard the loud boy with glasses shouting, President. Ida said all of that while raising his own hand. Little hard to find your speech convincing with your own hand raised. Jiro drawled. Obviously, the only true way of solving this is to put it to a vote. That's a terrible idea, man. We've been here for 2 days. There's no way anyone's going to care about someone enough to not vote for themselves, Kirishima said. Pissed, Kaken, vote for me for president and I'll vote for you, Izuku whispered. What the F will that do for us? Bakugo yelled. That's still one vote for us. Izuku looked back to his writing, then shrugged. I don't know, but wouldn't it be better than voting for ourselves like most of the class is gonna do? Bakugo opened his mouth to reply before shutting it. The nerd had a point regardless of how useless it would be. All right then. Do those two know we can hear their sheet talk about us, or what? Kaminari asks. We know, we just don't care. Izuku said, grinning. The class looked at Aizawa, who shrugged. Time to vote. Do it. Aizawa said from his corner of the room. Everyone pulled out pieces of paper and started writing down their votes. Izuku's only hope for the election was someone other than him. Winning. He had his plate full with his miming, training with One for All, and dating Kendo. Kendo should go before the others, shouldn't she? Unless. The results of the ballots were as follows. Izuku Midoriya, F. Momo Yaoyorozu, 3. Everyone else either received 1 or 0 votes. To say Izuku was shocked at the results would be a lie. He couldn't fathom who in the hell would want him as the class president. Deku, how the F did you win this election? Bakugo questioned. Beats me. Izuku said. Behind Izuku and Bakugo, Kirishima and Mina were looking away. No one voted for me, Ida exclaimed. Defeated by the very system I proposed. Oh, the irony of it all. You didn't even vote for yourself? Are you an idiot, or something? Jiro asked. Glasses is too uptight to do that. Bakugo explained. Enough, Aizawa said, popping up from the floor. With this, the class positions are decided. Class president is Midoriya, and class vice president is Yaoyorozu. Come up here and introduce yourselves or whatever. Izuku sauntered up to the podium happily with Yaoyorozu by his side. As much as he didn't want this position, having the creation user by his side made it bearable. Mainly because this makes his plans much easier to implement. Respected students and Aizawa. Thin Ice already kid. Aizawa growled. Yes, well, as I was saying, I would like to thank you all for this position that I did not want but will try to take semi-serious. Izuku bowed. Liar. Shut up before I box you up, Kaken. I'm making my presidential speech. Bakugo looked away grumbling. He didn't feel like being in a box for the rest of the day, so he shut up and resigned himself to listening to his best friend's bullshit speech. Now where was I? Oh yes, and alongside my VP. Izuku turned to Yaoyorozu whispering, What should I call you? The heiress stared at her class rep before answering. Yaoyorozu is fine. Izuku nodded his head in understanding, turning back to class. And alongside my VP Momo the Magnificent, we shall make sure 1A has the best year ever. Momo stared at her fellow classmate beside her befuddled. What was the point of asking? I mean, he completely ignored what I said, so why? Momo sighed, a small smile on her face. Despite the small annoyance she felt at the mime user, secretly she liked the name he had given her and had a feeling she was going to enjoy being Midoriya's vice president. Little did she know. Once Izuku finished his speech, the class erupted in applause for the 2 student representatives. Despite it being so short, the class still felt energized by the mime's enthusiasm. He gave Yaoyorozu such a cool nickname. Kirishima cried. That's so manly. But he just added magnificent to her name. What's so manly about that? Mina giggled. The fact he gave it to her. I mean, the dude's rude as heck, but I think having him and Yamamoto together as the class reps won't be so bad. Jiro said, smirking. Yeah. I mean, he does have a snarky attitude, but I feel pretty pumped after that speech. Kaminari said happily. While the class was cheering for their class reps, a man in a yellow sleeping bag was sipping his juice while trying to figure out if this is payback for all those kids he expelled. After the election, it seemed like it was time for lunch, which in Midoriya's opinion was weird because the voting only took like an hour, so how did they end up going to lunch already? Midoriya, stop overanalyzing and go to lunch before I expel you. Aizawa said. Do you even have that power anymore? Izuku grinned impishly. Why did I ever think I could like you? Aizawa drawled. Aizawa-sensei and Midoriya-kun have such a weird relationship. Uraraka says. Indeed. Ida agrees. Nerd, where are you going? Bakugo asks. Well, Kaken, unlike you, I have a girlfriend whom I'm looking for, so she can join us for lunch. Izuku teases. I can, and I will slap you, Deku. Bakugo deadpanned. Oh, look, there she is. Izuku yells, running off. Kendo was happily chatting with her friends heading towards the lunch line when she felt something wrap around her body. By now she didn't even question what or who it could be because she knew only one person who would think it's cute to greet someone like this. Babe. Kendo sighed heavily before she turned around with a smile on her face. Izuku. How's your day been so far? Izuku held his girlfriend as they walked to the lunch line, the mime boy happily retelling how the class election went. Pfft, wait, you mean to tell me you won the class election and are class rep with the Yaoyorozu heiress as your VP? Kendo said in disbelief. Yeah, awesome, right? I already gave Momo a great title since she'll be my assistant from now on. Itsuka slapped her face in exasperation. Babe, you can't make people your assistants without consent. What, but who wouldn't want to be my assistant? I'd love to be your assistant. Kirishima said, appearing at the table Izuku and Kendo were currently seated at. Mina, Bakugo, Tsuyu, Momo and a few others following close behind. Really, you'd want to be Izuku's assistant? Kendo asked in disbelief. Hell yeah. Izuku turned to his girlfriend with a smug look. It didn't take a genius to know what his eyes were saying to his girlfriend. You thought? Kendo decided she could wait on telling Izuku to get off his high horse later. Besides, Kirishima was one of several million people in Japan who would probably want to be his assistant. While everyone continued to converse with the new class president of one, Ida examined the boy who was now his class president. He was rude, messy, seemed to not care about any type of authority, and yet somehow there were others who thought he deserved to be their class rep. Perhaps the reason I didn't get elected was because I can't see why Midoriya was elected. Ida said. Actual Ida, the reason no one voted for you was because you're a stick in the mud that doesn't know how to relax. Midoriya said while trying to feed Kendo, who was trying to slap away his hand, much to the amusement of others. But if you don't follow the rules, then what would you follow? Follow what you think is right. Ida stared at the green-haired enigma who was entertaining the others, taking in his words. If you wanted to be class president so badly, why the hell didn't you just vote for yourself? Bakugo said. Ida looked to the blonde boy. I still would have lost. And besides, it's not about what I want, it's about what my class deserves. Being a hero means putting. Hey, you know who you sound like, Ingenium. Man, I gotta visit him sometime and check on his nose. Izuku chuckled, cutting off Ida from his speech. Ida's eye twitched at Izuku. His words for some reason or another irked him. May I inquire as to why you need to do that? Let's just say Izuku was the cause of an incident that made him break his nose. Kendo sighed. Ida looked at Izuku horrified. He couldn't believe that this was the delinquent his brother spoke so highly about. How could my brother ever think he would be a good fit for his agency? Is what your face says right now. Izuku smirked. Ida gawked at Midoriya. How he was able to tell that he was thinking that was beyond him. However, before he could offer a rebuttal, an ear-shattering alarm started blaring. What the hell is that? Bakugo asked. The blonde was already annoyed his rival somehow won the class election, but having his lunch interrupted, knew who someone's about to get beach slapped. What the heck is going on? Kirishima yelled. This is the alarm that indicates a level 3 security breach, a third-year student explained before hurrying off. Those from 1A and 1B looked to each other worried. Their first week in school and already something troublesome was occurring. As everyone began to get pushed around in the hall from many of the students panicking, Izuku began walking up some stairs he created, pulling along with him his girlfriend because really, she was his only priority. Not at all bothered by what was occurring, he went to find out what exactly was causing all this trouble, reassuring. Izuku, don't you think you should have helped the others, instead of leaving them down there to get trampled? Kendo admonished. Izuku turned to his girlfriend from the platform he had created and shrugged. Should I've? Kendo shook her head and sat down waiting for Izuku to figure out what was going down. She knew it was a waste of breath to even try and get through his thick head what he did was wrong, but she was also kind of flattered that he kept her out of the stampede's way. It was a half a minute later that Izuku was yelling to the crazed UA students to stop overreacting and chill out. It's literally just reporters that broke in. Stop acting like a villain with a disintegration quirk. Broke in to take sensitive information regarding one of our classes. I mean, really? Izuku scoffed. Those still trying to push through, other students stopped, moving to stare at the boys standing on air in disbelief. They all were wondering who the hell this kid was who had the nerve to talk to them like that. When Izuku got back to class, he was ambushed by Bakugo with an explosion to the face. Since he was unable to block it, he ended up sprawled against the back of the classroom. Ah wow Kakin, what was that for? Izuku whined, slowly peeling himself off the wall with the help of Kirishima and Momo. Then nerd, you left me to get trampled by all those demon extras. Bakugo growled. Izuku tapped his chin as if in thought. What? No, I don't recall that happening. You got the wrong guy. You're a bastard. Bakugo growled before going to sit down. The rest of the class meanwhile stared in awe at the boy who didn't even seem to care that his face was singed from having an explosive fist to the face. In fact, the boy seemed to not care at all about it, instead was just brushing the soot away. And from the looks of their sensei he seemed to find it amusing, and not worth punishing. Heh, remind me to give Bakugo extra credit. Aizawa chuckled, finding it amusing how the two acted. Of course, the teacher knew he should have punished the blonde for what he just did, but if no one's hurt then all's well that ends well. Are you serious? The class yelled in unison. After school. You are my right-hand Lady Momo, therefore you will be assisting me outside of school too. Izuku stated. The heiress wasn't usually at a loss for words, but after hearing what the green-haired boy was saying she couldn't help but be confused. What work could they be doing that would need to be done outside of school? It was barely the first week of school, nothing needed to be handled, yet anyways. Okay. Excellent. With that out of the way and you on board, Itsuka can't get mad at me for this. Izuku grinned. Thankfully Kendo had gone off ahead since she had lessons to get to, thus leaving Izuku time to enact his plan. Excuse me, but what is she not getting mad at you for? Izuku ignored the question to continue talking. I drew up this awesome costume for you. Your quirk creates things, so you should have no problem creating this and meeting me at my apartment to prepare for our performance at the Tokyo Prefecture 12 p.m. Saturday. Wait, what are you talking about? What performance? And I don't know where you live, so how would I get there? Momo said, now thoroughly confused. Izuku turned to the creation users, smiling. Here is the address to my place. Please come at least 2 hours before to prepare. The Yaoyorozu heiress, still confused, looked to the design in front of her, causing her to choke on her spit. The addition of not knowing what this was for only added to the embarrassment of the revealing sparkling outfit she was not looking forward to making, but because of some weird sense of duty to her class president, she was still going to, of course. Well, compared to my hero costume, this is rather conservative. You still haven't said what all this is for, Midoriya? Call me Deku because as of today, you Momo Yaoyorozu are Deku's the great newest assistant. Momo the Magnificent. I'm your what now? Well, see you Saturday. Izuku yelled, running off at the sight of Bakugo stomping his way up to the two. Teasage, last time I tried to give him back his limited edition midnight pencil case. Bakugo growled. Momo looked to Bakugo standing beside her, staring angrily at where Deku once stood. Her staring immediately caught his attention. Teach, what did that idiot want with you? Momo wasn't sure whether she should answer truthfully or not and was prepared to lie, surprisingly, and just say it was about class rep stuff. That idea was immediately scrapped when the blonde saw the costume design in her hand, causing him to cackle. That idiot actually got you to agree to be his assistant. Yes. And you're actually gonna wear that? Bakugo cackled. Yes. Momo said, blushing. Haha, how the hell does that idiot do it? Bakugo laughed, walking off towards the station. Wait, what did you mean by that? Momo called out. What exactly am I assisting in, and why am I wearing this outfit for it?